Welcome back, weary travelers, to Recorder on the Wall, where we're covering every single Redwall book, including a bunch of other stuff that will probably take me till the end of the podcast to list off. So let's just move on. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Matthias.
All right. And, you might not have heard a couple of voices, but Drew is here. Drew, would you like to introduce yourself? His teeth are chattering. He's very cold. Drew, 1 click for yes, 2 clicks for no. Is everything okay? Okay.
I
He's
think
confused.
it was 3.
He's confused.
Yeah.
Like I said, 1 click for yes, 2 for no. All right, yes twice. Excellent.
All right.
Wonderful.
And then Pete will be giving some opinions here and there. We will direct to him, but for the most part, you're just going to hear me, you're going to hear Katie, and you're going to hear Matthias, and we are the 3 Mouseketeers today.
Yeah.
And if you're not finding all my jokes funny, then I will just move on to the main event. We are going to be covering Taggerung, Book 2, which is significantly longer than Taggerung, Book 1.
It is so long.
Oh boy! Wait, shed a bunch of tears.
And so Book 1 was very, 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 very short. It was basically, there's a baby. I want that baby. We killed the father. I took the baby. We have the baby now. People are sad.
Yes.
And yet somehow we turned 6 chapters into an hour-and-a-half long show.
Because it's what we do.
This is true. But this time, we have many, many more pages. I don't know how many big event things really happen in this section of the book, but...
Well, one major thing really happens, Tag defects from the clan.
Yeah. Most of the big things seem to happen really early on, and then Tag's just like, I'm just going to bum around for a while. AKA, he's a teenager.
Well, I mean, he's run away from home, he's on the road with his traveling buddy, and now we get to see all the crazy stops they make along the way before they get to their ultimate destination.
So
yes, this is sort of a journey book. Like, even with the quest that Mira's doing, it's more on what she kind of learns on the way to solving this riddle is the important thing.
Yeah. So basically, this is like a teenage comedy from the 90s, but as a Redwall book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to have the convertible car and Ray-Bans.
Well, he does have the little coracle boat, so does that count as his convertible?
Yes. There's no
Well,
room.
until he loses it.
Yeah. All right, so let's dive in. Start off with good old Felch the Fox, who's running away from the clan, and we find out that he not only ran away from the clan, but he kind of took Sonny Rath's dagger with him, which is a big no-no.
Yeah.
And
it's of course Felch running. I mean, dude's had a grudge for 15 seasons. I'd be surprised if he hadn't run into Sonny Rath's bad side at some point up until now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. So this is 15 seasons after Book 1. So we're pretty big time jump, which I think is the biggest one we've had in a single book.
Yes, and I think this is the point in the series where Jakes is just saying a season equals a year. So I would say he's about 15 years old.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the comment where Felch is worrying and decides that now is when he's making stupid errors as he's running. Yes, Felch.
Yeah.
Every other choice you made in your entire life was good until right now.
Including the one where you almost murdered the Taggerung as an infant. That was a great decision.
So he also makes note that the Taggerung is following him, and he hides in what he thinks is a great hiding place, which is just in the mud, in the swamp, underneath an overhang. And at this point, I just wanted to hear the from the Friday the 13th movies.
Oh, and I have to point out, Brian does a really great job here for making an indoors inclined person like myself hate the outdoors even more by describing how absolutely miserable Felch is. It's like,
Yes.
it's all this rain, and here's how he feels while he's in the mud, and this is the panic and anxiety that he's going through. And it's like, no.
I will stay inside my little cave and be very happy.
Yep. And I like the comment, like this wasn't even Felch's thoughts. It just said, Felch was no fool. I beg to differ.
Yeah, especially since like above him he hears this like person blundering along. He's like, "Oh, that's the Taggerung." Yes, I'm sure that's the Taggerung.
The fabled legendary warrior capable of doing some amazing feats, and he's blundering along. Yeah, that sounds exactly like a legendary warrior to me.
Yep.
This is more like when somebody incompetent is playing one of the Batman games and they're actually accidentally swinging into people that are shooting at him.
Yes, and it's like, that's when the game, I don't know, makes you take less damage because it's like, we can't make Batman look uncool here. Wait, that's it.
It's like in the
Tag is Batman. That's what he is.
that actually I have that in my notes. Oh boy, Taggerung is the new Batman.
Bat Tag.
Bat Tag. So is Nimbalo Robin?
Yes.
Awesome.
Including the red, green, and yellow costume.
No, that is the picture in my head now, and it will never leave. The coracle is the Batmobile.
Oh no, it's Batman and Robin, the road trip. We're just making this worse. I'm sorry. Okay, no, I'm not.
Holy traveling stories, Batman. Well, we find out what happened was that Felch was failing again, and Sonny finally had enough, and it was and actually says, "Hey, stand still. I'm going to throw this knife at you," and then is surprised when Felch ducks it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're lucky this isn't Farrago, who would have yelled that who would have said he was throwing the knife after he impaled it in your face. So Felch hangs out overnight, and in the morning he's like, all right, time to go. And he opens his eyes, and the first thing he sees is like the Taggerung like leaping at him or like coming up from the darkness and going, I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Taggerung.
I think he's just literally hanging out like, oh, hey.
I was trying to make it sound dramatic.
I know, but it's funnier. Like,
what sounds better? Like, this super tough warrior has emerged from the darkness, or, hey, dude, sup? Yeah, I've been hanging out watching you sleep. Actually, wait, he's a teenager, so.
I'm the night. I'm Bat Tag.
He's like the Lego Batman.
Yes.
Well, meanwhile, for a complete, like, tonal whiplash, we go to Redwall with food.
Oh, I just want to rewind for just a half tick.
Oh, sure.
Seeing just the Taggerung there, just like, no beast escapes me, for I'm the Taggerung. It's like, yeah, this is what Skipper could be like if he had absolutely no morals whatsoever. An unstoppable killing machine.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we've already seen throughout the stories that, like, otters are usually, like, I'd say second to badgers in terms of, like, just raw strength and how they're described.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't want to mess with otters.
No.
If badgers are like the big brick wall of muscle, otters are they're not quite glass cannons, but they're very fast and they hit very hard and they are very ferocious.
Yep.
Yeah, I think otters are kind of like hares in that usually they act kind of playful and kind of are funny and just messing around, but when they're serious, they are serious.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen plenty of them like that throughout the series. Like, I can't remember the name of the otter in Lord Brocktree, but the one that almost like matched Brocktree for physical strength.
Oh, Ruff. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he was like friendly and cheerful, but like you put him in a battle and nothing survives.
And I'd like to point out that he was taught to wrestle by his old granny, and she beat him every time.
Don't mess with Granny Otters.
No.
Nope. You know, I think I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Otters are the equivalent to like Viking warriors, whereas hares are more like the redcoats.
Okay.
All right. So, Redwall, things are peaceful. Craig is still there, and I think is now officially the oldest character ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she's got to be late. I would say late 90s, maybe even early hundreds.
I'm going to go on a limb and just say cracking 110, maybe even pushing 120, just for the sake of argument.
Yeah, I would say, like we don't really get a specific age for her. We just know that she's super old.
Yeah, she outlived characters that were young in like Pearls of Lutra. Like I think she's older than Bella was back in the day.
I don't think she was around in Pearls though, was she? She
was
around.
I'm just saying like there were characters like Arvin was like a little baby in Pearls, and now he's died of old age. Or like Tansy was about a teenager in Pearls, and she has died from old age at this point. And like Song has died from old age at this point. So it's like she's outlived like 2 or 3 generations of people.
Yeah, which must be kind of lonely in a way.
Yeah, to see all those old friends die around you. Mm-hmm. And we get reminded of a lot of them throughout this section of the book, too.
Mm-hmm. I liked the name drops. I liked the name drops Perigord and Song and Jangler.
I was so ecstatic when they name dropped Perigord. I was like, Perigord's monocle!
Yep.
Also, they have good food in this chapter. I know, newsflash, there's good food in a Redwall book.
What?
What?
I know, but trust me, I swear, the food is awesome in a Redwall book.
All right.
I'm not sure. I'm skeptical.
Yeah. So we get Mira, who is now a full-on teenager. And... I
would say actually early 20s.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
If she was 6 or 7 in the first book and 15 seasons passed, I would say like drinking age in America, like 21, 22.
Okay.
I would even go farther and say probably pushing 23, 24. She's graduated college by now.
Okay.
Nice.
She's looking for a job, and Craiga is her mentor.
Yeah, she's going through apprenticeship. For what job? We're not going to say. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Yeah, but I like her friendship with Craiga a lot.
Yep. Throughout a lot of this, I feel like I think I mentioned this like forever ago when we were covering it, but I feel like Mira is if oh my god, the name is completely blanking on me. The one from Outcast to Redwall.
Bryony?
Bryony. I feel like Mira is Bryony done right.
I'll go with that.
Yeah. She definitely has more of a personality.
Yes.
and definitely a lot less single-minded.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Bryony was basically like, do Abby work, and oh my god, where is my precious veil? I need to have my veil.
Yes.
Yeah, Drew, do you agree that Mira is better? Drew? Okay, that's a yes.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thank you, Drew. And Pete, what do you think? Oh, you completely agree with everything we say? Awesome. Thanks, man.
Sweet.
Yep.
Such a benevolent abbot.
Yep.
Yes.
And, a man of few words.
Yes.
So Mira takes Craiga up to her room, and she mentions like, oh, my door keeps closing. Oh, use that doorstop. And apparently it's a memento that Jangler passed down to Song, and then Song gave it to Craiga, and she's just using it as a doorstop.
Yes, and Gundle's there too, which is cool. I like that he and Mira are still friends. And he's the one that's like, hey, this is a bottle.
And he said that his grandfather had one like it. And I'm just thinking, did he take after Ambrose Spike?
But what I find interesting is the fact that I'd probably have to go back and actually count, but it seems like there are a ton of sidekick characters that are moles. It's like, can we please, Pete's line of, hey, we need to have an Abbott mole. It's like, can we please have a main character mole?
Yeah, that's true. Because Bryony had a sidekick mole, right?
There's one in Sable Queen, I believe. Spoilers, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Spoilers.
I think Dinny is probably the closest we've gotten to like main character mole, because he's a pretty big part of Mossflower, and then by Legend of Luke, I think they said he was a 4 mole.
Don't forget about Grum.
Oh, and Grum as well, yes.
Although, technically, even though he is like a main character, he is more of a sidekick character to Rose.
True. Though there's plenty of situations where I feel like Grum is the hero in it, where like he's the reason why they're able to get Martin, Brome, and Fildo out in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
He's the reason why they don't starve to death.
This is true.
His experiments.
Yes. And Zoop. And so one of the things I really like here is where God, I almost called her Bryony. Sorry, Mira. No. I didn't mean it. Mira finds a little piece of parchment with a wax seal, and it has an S with like wavy lines. And I love the fact that Craig says, "Oh, that was Song's signature. It was an S with like breezes around it."
Yeah,
I love that.
Although, I just have to put down my hand, say, no more secret rooms. Secret carvings? Sure. Secret bottles? Of course. But no more secret rooms. We don't need to go on full National Treasure with the Abbey anymore. No more secret rooms.
How is it that like they could still find secret rooms like after so many years and seasons of being in this place? Like, come on.
Because nobody pays attention.
You're not wrong.
Or somebody keeps commissioning secret rooms to be built, and then they promptly forget about them because their record system is terrible. Organize the gatehouse.
Gon keeps making people do it in their sleep. Gon's like, I'm going to add a secret room here. All right, I'm going to take... And Martin's sitting there like, I should never have told you how to take control of people while they're sleeping. And Song apparently continues the tradition of super vague messages. Like, all right. I don't know. I didn't really take Song for like a trickster like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of a scavenger hunt, though. Not like something to find, a life-threatening, dangerous, like find the pearls or the abbot will die. Just like, hey, if you want to potentially be a leader in Redwall, let's go on a scavenger hunt. You can learn things.
Do you want to be the abbot? Well, follow these 15 tips and subscribe to my YouTube video.
Abbey council leaders hate number 6.
Abbey hacks.
Yes.
So they they have a bunch of weird things. So there's a couple of them. Well, there's a really, really long one. So I'm just like, I'm not going to read off the whole thing. But I did notice that after Mira reads that "For you alone are the one," and Craiga repeats it, "For you alone are the one," and Mira's like, "Me?"
and the one is capitalized, the O. So it's like the one. It's like, this is not the Matrix. This is not, The Hobbit.
I was thinking of the Jet Li movie.
You are not the one.
And so they have a little puzzle, which is, though I am no longer here, I beg, pay heed to me. OL stands for oak leaf. AS leaves you her key. AS. And it's Abbess song, which is pretty simple. And then
Yep.
if you would rule this abbey, GH is the place to be. At the TOMTW, look to the LHC.
I mean, TOMTW is obviously the tapestry of Martin the Warrior.
Yeah.
MTW, that's common. But LHC, what does the Large Hadron Collider have to do with Redwall?
Now you know Song was like an up-and-coming millennial because she's just abbreviating everything. LOL.
Wow.
Abby AP. I'm heading to the AP Abbey Pond. And so as they're searching around, they run into Burab, who apparently, even though they said he would be on 1 season of probation, he's still on probation 15 seasons later.
I think Krega is trolling him so hard.
I feel sorry for him.
I do too.
I don't.
I like Burab.
I
What
mean,
do you think, Drew?
Pete,
Pete, what do
very
you think?
insightful.
Drew, do you like Burab? He's so excited he doesn't know what to say.
All right, then.
But, you know, Krega's old and blind. But she's not senile, Burab. It's been 15 seasons. When will you learn? Don't mouth off in her presence.
And don't steal food.
Yeah.
My sister would try to do that to me all the time. I'd be making cookie dough or something, and she'd be kind of hovering. Like, it's weird. Like, I can hear the difference in the air when someone's close to me. It's like a thing that, you know, obviously people see, so they don't pay attention, but your ears tell you a lot. So, like, she's hovering, like, get away. She's like, I'm not doing anything. And I, like, push my hand in front of the mixing bowl, and there's her arm going down into the bowl. I'm like, no, go away.
I mean, let's be fair. Hare stealing food out of the kitchen is not a new problem. Klecky was doing it back in Pearls of Lutra.
I'm sure Basil was too.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Although he was probably much more of a gentleman about it.
Yeah. I'm sure Tarquin did it all the time. I mean, shoot, they bribed him with being like taste tester back in Bellmaker.
And Pickle, when Pickle lived at Redwall, I'm sure he did it too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? The only ones I could see not doing it were the Long Patrol hares in the Long Patrol because they'd be too disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure after saving the Abbey, they were literally invited in and it's just like, whatever you want, come down, we'll feed you.
Yes. Paragord should have gotten free reign over the kitchen after that. And I love the fact that they don't know what GH is. So I figured out it was Great Hall. They figure out, oh, it's the gatehouse. And Craig is like, all right, sure, yeah, go for it. And they run off, and she's like, I know it's not. And it's Brother Hoban is the one that helps her, or is it Horg?
It's Horg.
Horg, okay. He's like, oh, you thought it was the gatehouse, but check this out. It's totally the Great Hall. And they're like, oh, off to the Great Hall. And he's like, hang on. Slow down for a second. Crazy kids. Why don't you try to figure out the rest of it before you run over there? And actually, I forgot what LHC was again. Or do we find that out in this chapter? Or is that
holder column?
That was
but
it.
It's later. I think it's later.
It's next chapter.
Yep,
Oh,
they do argue about it. Lower Hall Cavern, little hotcakes. Lessons have commenced. Let him choose. All right.
Least honorable choice. Yep, that's Burab.
Oh. Well, then we go back to Vermin Central, and Sonny just has no idea why this teenager is rebelling against him.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Like, literally, it's just, he's a teenager, dude. That's what they do.
Yep. So how much of this, because he won't kill, so are we thinking that's a kind of Jake's commentating on nature versus nurture type thing?
Yeah. he shows mercy by default, and you know, is that he shows default because he's an otter, or is he an otter because he shows mercy by default?
Right.
It just, and now I'm sure, Pete probably has a lot to say on this subject.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Oh, wow, Pete. Wow.
That's profound.
Man. So I had a couple of ideas about it. So part of it is, I think one of the reasons why, simple reason why Tag is not doing what Sonny tells him at this point is he's a teenager, which I think that answers a lot of questions. But also, so my theory is, because we find out that Tag is constantly having dreams and visions of Redwall and his real family and Martin showing up and giving him cryptic messages. I'm going to go on a limb and say that Tag's refusal to kill and basically heel face turn is Martin. Mm-hmm. In book one, they flat out state that Martin chooses the champion of Redwall. And the fact that he's constantly showing up to Tag/Dana is, it's either he's chosen him to be the Abbey warrior, or he's doing this to help get him back on the right path. And we have seen, quote unquote, good characters be a lot worse in different situations. Let's face it, Fulgrin in Legend of Luke was way more brutal than Tag.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And, however, he did lighten up and become a more friendly person after meeting Martin and his crew, and especially Chugger.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So my theory is that Martin is the one that's influencing Tag/Dana.
I think there's one other element at play here, and that's, imagine if you suddenly are the most skilled person in your immediate vicinity. Everyone else, compared to you, is nothing. Do you go ahead and absolutely dominate and crush everybody, or do you just kind of let them go because killing them is beneath you? I mean, if you could literally go through and in the space of a couple of moments wipe out your entire tribe like that, wouldn't you be either inclined to A, do that, or B, never do that? Mm-hmm. It's got to have to be one or the other. And since he's obviously not going to wipe out the people that at the time he cares about, or have at least, tried to care about him in some way, or show him respect, it's like, okay, what would I do if I suddenly, wiped out everyone around me? Where does that leave me? Mm-hmm. It's far easier for me to exert control by just letting them do their thing with the occasional reproof.
Mm-hmm. I love how he treats Greuven, just like an amusing, annoying younger brother.
Yeah. Yep.
And the funny thing is, Greuven is technically older than him, but Tag treats him like, I'm 15, you're 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also get, there's a comment, I can't remember if it's in this chapter or actually no, yeah, so it is part of this chapter where Tag says to him, look, I'm the only otter in this crew. I can tell that something's up. I can tell that there's something about this that isn't right, that I might not belong with you. Mm-hmm. I feel like if they had Outcast Redwall, for example, they take Vale in, and it's literally, we found this orphan and are taking him in. And I'm sure they said that to Vale at some point, we found you as a baby and Bryony raised you. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Tag/Dana, it's obvious they haven't told him anything. And we find out later on that they really didn't. They were just you're part of our group, you're the Taggerung, you're the best, you're the super soldier, you're, Captain Evil, whatever. Um,
Your past is irrelevant. Your only purpose is to be Captain America.
exactly. And so, again, he's a teenager, and so he's now starting to question everything that he's been taught. Is when you're a kid, you just kind of accept everything for the most
Mhm.
part. And we get the idea that he did look up to Sonny at one point and did what Sonny told him, and that Sonny literally treated him like his son. Like we get the impression that Sonny does care about him to a degree.
Mhm.
But we also have there's a line later on where it says that he doesn't see Sonny as his father, and he knows that Sonny isn't his father, and part of him kind of wants to know where he came from and how he even became part of this group.
Yeah.
And granted, he might have turned anyway, but I think part of that could have been solved by like Sonny or even Gristle. Like, since she's the seer, she's the one that everybody respects. She could have said, like, given him some crazy, wacky story of, like, we found you during this stormy night, all alone, and Sonny rescued you from the floods or some craziness like that.
That would have been a
Or
smarter way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
let me refine that even further, which is, hey, here are all the omens. They pointed to this intersection, this ford. And so we went there, and, you were with your father, but he had been bitten by a great fish and was bleeding out, and there was nothing we can do. And, well, we couldn't save him, but we could save you. And you were the prophesied one, so here you are.
Yeah.
And the father's dying words were, "Take my son, care for him as I cannot."
Yes.
Exactly.
Including the bleh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tag would have been like, did he actually go bleh? I'm like, yeah, it was really weird.
His tongue suddenly lolled out to the side, X's over his eyes. It was very strange.
Oh God. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things to take into account of him turning against Sonny outside of yes, we know, otters are usually the good guys and stoats, rats, and whatever are usually the bad guys, but also, like I said, Fulgrin was pretty dark.
And I was gonna say later we don't meet him yet, but we have indications that there is a terrible mouse somewhere, like a
Yes.
very, very, very cruel mouse. So
Mm-hmm.
Almost at what's his name? Last book. Fenno.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
is this our first bad mouse?
I think so. Yeah, we've had like stern characters. We've had ones that were not the nicest characters.
Mhm.
Like I can't remember the squirrel in Salamandastron, the one that
Bremen.
punished, huh?
Bremen.
Bremen. Yeah, like he was kind of a little bit of a cranky jerk, but
Mhm.
also not too, not he tried to mean well, but he wasn't a nice person half the time.
And I
At
mean,
most,
Packatug was just a jerk. If we're talking about squirrels, Packatug was like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, with at least with Brother Bremen, he was more of a spoil sport, wet blanket meddler. But deep down, it's like everything has to be done for the best for the Abbey, and it's like if you're doing something that is not helpful, you're not helping.
Yeah. And he did feel bad about like when he would punish Samkim or find out that like he was wrong about Samkim, like what he did. Like because after he punishes in the beginning, he even says to the abbess, like, was I too mean? Like he at least meant well.
Mhm.
mhm.
But like you said, Katie, Fenno in the previous one he was a straight up murderer.
Actually, that
And
was me. I'm not
oh,
Katie.
sorry, I'm sorry. It's been a long day already.
You're getting
I'm
us
tired.
mixed up. This is weird.
Oh, like you said, Matthias. I will fix that. Fenno was a bad apple. He was a straight up murderer, and so it's not like we haven't seen. Like, we don't see it very often, but it's not like we haven't seen good character, like quote unquote, good species do terrible things.
Yes, but I think this is specifically the first mouse, unless I'm missing one.
I think you're right. That
I mean,
definitely, at
Sister
least to this degree.
Cicely Sister Cicely and Sister Alkanet are not pleasant, but they generally mean well. They're just sort of like the stereotypical like old stern nun type character.
Yeah.
Or the
But yeah.
the librarian trope of just shh.
Yeah.
Now talking in the library.
Just made me think of the ghost at the beginning of Ghostbusters that's in the library. Get her! Yeah, like Sister Alkanet's kind of a wet blanket and stuff, but like Mirror even like flashes back to when Alkanet was really kind to her when she got hurt doing something. So, like, you know, Alkanet is a good person. She's just kind of a grump.
Yep.
So, what we find is, so Felch has been, quote unquote, captured by the Taggerung, which, and by captured, I mean Taggerung's like, hey, I'm going to build a fire and get, you know, you can have a couple things out of my pack. I'm going to go get some food, you know, stay here. So Felch, because he's the dumbest character in the book.
No, that would be Grooven.
Okay, second dumbest character in the book.
There you go.
Tries to run away again, and, well, that doesn't turn out very good. Doesn't turn out well for him. Taggerung grabs him, drags him back, sits back down again, and goes, okay, let's try this again. You stay here. I'm going to get us food. If you run away again, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Okay.
Yes, sir, Taggerung, sir.
Yep. And as they're eating, Felch is like all nervous. He's like, when did you find me? He's like, I saw you like half the night. I figured you weren't going anywhere, so I just hung out here. But wasn't that you above the thing? No, that was Grooven. I sent him on a wild goose chase. He's funny. I love the idea. And also later on when Grooven's like, you gave me a false trail, and Taggerung starts like sarcastically clapping, and you followed it. Impressive.
Yeah, Grooven is just as dumb as his mother is bitter.
Yes.
Yep. So as soon as Felch starts like begging for his life, I immediately flashed back to Ben Stiller's character in Tropic Thunder, where as he's been captured and getting whipped, and he goes, "Please don't hurt me." That's Felch now.
All right.
So he takes him home, takes him back to the camp, and it's basically, Dad, I'm home. I brought a victim. And Sonny, acting like the overconfident and overly involved Little League parent with Antigua, my son brought home the quarry. My son's better than your son.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, in your face. And Sonny was like, hey, where's Grooven? And he's like, probably lost in the woods.
Yeah.
And when Grooven gets back, you know, Tag beats him up, knocks him to the ground, and Sonny's like, he tried to kill you. You should kill him. Grooven's probably killed me a million times in his head, but in real life, no, not happening. I like keeping around. He's fun.
Yeah.
Tag is snarky as he is skilled. Grooven didn't stand a chance.
Nope.
And Sonny, like, to try to play it up, he's like, ha! That's awesome! Cool! You're totally killing the next person I tell you to kill.
Yep.
Literally what it is. And we then get an interesting moment with Gristle. Is that how it's pronounced?
Gristool, I believe, but
Grissoul?
Gristool. Yeah.
Grissoul. Let's say it like that. Grissoul.
Yes. Gristool.
Like it's some kind of fancy French perfume ad. The alluring scent of Grisou.
Now I just
Grisul
picture
likes
her
her
being the
food with
only one
some
that
au
smells
jus.
good out of the entire one. Like,
Huh?
I picture her being the only one that smells good out of the entire bunch. She's like, look, I got
Oh,
perfume
absolutely.
on.
Grisul goes in the pool. Oh God. Um,
Anyway,
so we get an interesting scene here where Grisul visits Antigra and Grufin, and in prior books, whenever the right hand of the leader visits people like specific characters in the army, it's usually, hey, let's stab them in the back and take over.
Or I'm secretly here on behalf of my boss to get dirt on you so that, he has legitimate reason to do you in.
Yeah. I mean,
mhm.
shoot, Outcast of Redwall, the fox in that one visits the other foxes like, hey, I don't actually follow sport. We should totally go to this quarry where there's actual cool stuff and not a buttload of adders.
Yep.
Or heck, in Long Patrol, where like the second in command there like meets up with the two would-be assassins, and like the three of them are working together to try to kill the main guy. Whereas in this one, Grisul is like, look, you pissing off Sani isn't helping anybody. Here's what I want you to do. Give him a gift so you can get on his good side and everybody can be as one.
And that's what makes
Yep.
Grisul a great character. She
Mhm.
shows that she cares for the Juskarath as a whole, not just Sawney. She's not a
Or
lackey.
herself.
Yeah, and she's not a sycophant. She's
Mhm.
just she's a leader, what a true leader should be, and probably more of a leader than Sawney is at this point.
Mhm.
I mean, he was good at the beginning, good in quotation marks, but her style of leadership is way more effective.
Yeah, I think she might be best seer.
Yeah.
Or
Best
one
seer,
of the
yeah.
best seers. Just because she's smart and she has self-preservation, but she also cares about, like you said, about the clan as a whole and not just saving herself.
Yeah. And I don't think we've ever seen anything like this where it's like loyalty and devotion to the clan.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've seen loyalty, like blind loyalty to the leaders. Like obviously, Ungat Trun had some blind loyalty to him, and what's his face in Mossflower was blindly loyal to Sarmina because he was an idiot.
Brog.
Brog, yeah. But we never see loyalty and devotion like this on the villain side, where she sees that she believes right now Sani is the best leader for the clan. And in order for him to succeed as leader, the entire clan needs to respect and get along with him.
Mhm.
And it's completely different than the constant backstabbing and killing we saw in Marl Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll take it a step further. I'll say that it's not that Sawney's necessarily the best leader, but he's the best choice to keep the clan safe because he is currently the best fighter. And he is able to be balanced out by Grisul's ministrations to him for either his stomach trouble, stroking his ego a little bit, feeding him the right bits of information, as opposed to Ifra and Valig Bowbeast, who would probably, either of them, just get utterly drunk on power and tear the clan asunder from the inside out.
Yep. Heck, we even have in the first chapter of this section where after Sonny throws the knife and Felch ducks it, she's like, "Look, he saw it coming. Just let him be. He's not a threat to you. Let's just let this go and keep everything moving." And Sonny's like, "No, I have to kill him."
Yeah.
And so Sonny then decides to, like all bad parents, is like, I know what's gonna make my teenager respect me. I'm gonna not only have him do something I ask him to, I'm gonna have it be the most outrageous thing ever, and that'll totally prove that he's loyal to me. So Sonny, who has been having an impossible time getting tagged just to kill somebody, tells him, okay, I want you to skin Felch alive.
Yes, and this is after he's had one of those dreams too, right? He had a dream that he was back in his room at Redwall with his parents and his sister and Craiga.
Yep.
Aw, baby dreams.
Yes.
Yep. So, first of all, Sonny is a Farago fanboy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. But, like, that's a huge leap. Like, okay, fine. Sonny would want, asking Tag to execute or defeat, kill Felch, give Felch a fighting chance, whatever somebody with a busted paw can really do, but against the top fighter in the entire group. But instead of, like, trying to ease him into this sort of thing, Sonny immediately goes to skin him alive.
Yeah.
Like, of course Tag's gonna disobey you.
Yep.
And Tag not only disobeys him, he goes and unties Felch, like cuts his bonds, and goes, "Look, you should just run."
Mm-hmm.
Get while the getting's good.
Mm-hmm. And we get Sonny's like, "Obey me! Come, son of Rilflag, kneel before Zod." And again, this is part of it is like we've said, Tag is not like we covered this with like Tag not being super loyal to many reasons. And part of this is still him being a teenager and rebelling against his authority. He's literally going, "You can't tell me what to do. You're not my real father."
Yep.
No, Tag. I am your father.
No! That's impossible!
Oh boy.
And Tag decides, you can't tell me what to do. I'm going to run away and join a band. Yeah, so Tag runs. Sonny is pissed and goes, "That's it. I'm going to hunt down Felch. I'm going to hunt down the Taggerung. I'm going to show that I'm the best one here. Ignore the fact that my stomach is turning inside out right now. I'm going to kill them all." And he runs off. And Griswold just sits down and like throws her stones and like checks the omens and just face palms.
Yep.
Yep, Sonny's temper got the best of him, and his pride was in the way of rational thinking. Not that he had much rational thinking. So, in the space of a single day, he's lost pretty much everything that was important to him. Great!
Well,
at least things can't get worse for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
I'm sure he'll rock it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I just got that. It took me a little bit.
Well, back to Redwall. Martin spoils Song's riddle. He literally gives Mira the answer. And I can just picture Song yelling at him in the afterlife, "Martin, spoilers!"
Spoilers!
It's like, nah, fam. Just wanted to give them the FAQ, make this run go a little bit faster. Get, speed run strats.
Speed run strats. Oh, God. So I found out it was the lantern holder column. And they find that there was something in the lantern holder. And
Yes. And then Brother Hoban comes in and lights candles. And we find out for the first time in 14 books, the job of the recorder is also to light candles.
Huh. Kind of.
Did we not? I mean, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah. I think that it is kind of odd that the person who's supposed to keep track of all like the parchment and everything also has a job to light things on fire.
Yep.
So
Don't disturb me further. I will snap. It will not be pretty.
And they get a brand new riddle, which. So the thing is that normally with the riddles, like they kind of take it piece by piece and go through it. This one, they go like a whole couple pages without going back to it, and so then they're trying to solve it. And since Jakes doesn't want to just like repeat the whole thing, which I totally understand, I was like constantly jumping back to the previous page trying to figure out what the riddle originally was. I feel like I was being quizzed.
Here's the strange thing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read this book in like over 10 years. It's been a long time. I looked at the poem. It took me a moment, but I think within 3 minutes, I had solved the whole thing, and it was like, how did I remember this? and as I continued to read through, it's like, I forgot this plot point, this story element, this character, yet I could remember the answer to the stupid riddle.
I did remember.
Sticks in your brain.
I mean, I did figure out immediately the "twixt water and stone I stand alone, sounding burnt but alive I survive." I was like, oh, it's an ash tree.
Yes, ash tree between the Abbey Pond and the Abbey Wall.
Yep, that one I immediately got. And so they enlist the entire Abbey to help them figure out the riddle, which, we don't see that very much.
Crowdsourcing riddle solutions? What is this? Red Bull Inc. in Silicon Flower Valley?
Mirror raised a Kickstarter, and and they get help, and they actually answer it. And it's like, congratulations, you solved the riddle. Here's a page-long song.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny because the audiobook fun facts, because I have to throw them in every podcast apparently, but the girl who plays Flaubert, and I'm saying girl because I think she actually is a girl, like she sounds very young, and it just kind of was cool that, I mean, she doesn't appear in any of the other ones, but like maybe she was someone's daughter who really wanted to be on a Redwall book, I don't know, but I mean, it's really cool.
Neat.
Oh, cool. And so they just feel like, well, it's nighttime. Apparently we need something during the day, or we need to check it later. So let's make some food and spend some time doing things around the Abbey, which takes up a lot of this book. Just random thought. Like, we see a lot of just random Abbey life throughout this book.
And I like that. Like, I think it's very kind of calming. Like, they're not preparing for wartime. They're just kind of living life. And I don't know. I kind of like it.
Yeah, the slice of life stuff, while not exactly exciting, is definitely interesting in contrast to all the action. It says, okay, here's what the Abbey normally looks like when they're not being invaded, attacked, or in any ways put upon for adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dealing with a disease.
Yes.
So back to the villain plot. Antigra, for some reason, really believes her bumbling dimwit son can be the leader of the tribe. Like, okay, good. I mean, a lot of people believe in their kids, but like, look, you got to know when to give up.
Does she want him to be the leader or the Taggerung? I think she wants him to be the Taggerung.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think part of it is also if he's the strongest or even in a leader position, she'd be like the puppet master behind him.
Yeah.
Now, Sonny, listen to Mommy.
Mom, I don't want to lead the clan today.
Yes, you do. Now go to it.
Okay, yeah, Mom.
And it seems like he has no affection for her whatsoever, which is kind of annoying with vermin characters, like, and their parents. I don't know. Like, I mean, it seems like she loves him, but it's like he doesn't really seem to care about her at all.
Yeah, like she constantly wants him to be in this good position. She has all these plans for him. And half the time he comes off as just like this whiny, lazy dingus.
Yeah, which I think is what he's supposed to. I would have enjoyed a little bit more depth. Like, he can be annoyed with his mother. Like, I'm annoyed with my mother sometimes, but I still care about her, like.
Yeah. Yeah, like I could understand him being annoyed that she's constantly pushing him and constantly trying to make him like more than what he can be, but at least, dude, she cares about you, which is more than more than a lot of the other vermin parents can say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Queen Syl.
Yeah. Look at Swart. He literally murders his son. Oh.
But, I
So,
mean, Grooven as a leader, I mean, that won't end well. It's like saying Sneezewort and Lousewort should be captains of some sort. Bad idea.
Yeah.
Yep. So Antigra is following Gristle's advice and is trying to get kill some doves and get their eggs to present to Sani. And as she's hanging out in a tree, she's just like, huh, there goes the Taggerung. That's weird that he's just running around. Oh, hey, there's Sani, and he doesn't look happy, and he's holding a spear. Ooh, I have a sling. And we get the dignified end of Sani Wrath, slain by a whiny old stoat.
Yes. I love how she's like, hey, Sonny, I'm up here.
Hey, Sonny, does this look like a rock to you? Oh, yes, it...
And, well, would you look at that? Antigra got what she wanted. And that somehow doesn't sit well with me. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It just feels like a anticlimactic end for Sonny. Like, all of a sudden, rock to the head. Nah. And Felch comes scrambling up, and he's like, did you just kill Sonny? And she was like, yep. Yeah, he's dead. And Felch, not believing it, decides to stab Sonny's dead body with a spear.
Yes.
And he's like, oh my god, he is dead. That's awesome. No, we can totally rule together. And she's like, yeah, together. Super. Can you hand me that spear? I totally want to stab him and not you. Yeah, here you go.
Yep.
And so Felch died as he lived, a dumb loser.
Well, I mean, it's not that was a particularly difficult thing to do. I think it would have been harder to have died, in honorable combat or literally anything else.
True. So Antigra goes back to the camp and kind of pops up behind Gristle and starts stabbing him poking him with a spear, like, I killed Sonny. And she's like, I knew Sonny would die. The omen said so. Did they tell you who do it? No, just that he would die in a really, really pathetic way.
I like how she's not intimidated at all. She's just like, yeah, why don't you tell me your story? Well,
Was it that the omens didn't give her the answer, or they gave her the answer and Gristle's just not telling?
Little of column A, little of column B.
Why don't you tell me what happened, since you were obviously there and saw what happened?
Like, I'm pretty sure I know what happened, but you should tell me. You're such a good storyteller, Antigra. And again, Gristle does what is best for the clan. She knows that they respect her, and she can get them around to following Grooven and Antigra. It's going to take a lot. But she also sees, like, if I don't do this, the clan will tear itself apart during a crazed power struggle.
Mm-hmm. So Antigra basically is like, my son is Taggerung now. Do you agree with my story? And she's like, well, no, because that's wrong. Like, the other Taggerung has to be killed, but I can make him leader. And she's like, okay.
Yep. Antigra is at least reasonable to a degree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Gristle's play at politics is better than pretty much every other vermin we've seen up to this point. So,
yep. Gristle is willing to compromise.
Yes.
And so they go through their shtick. They get the entire clan to follow, to believe in Gristle, Antigra, and Grooven. And Gristle's like, okay, Grooven, you will take these trackers and these killers with you, and you will hunt down the Taggerung, and you will kill him, probably while they hold him down and knock him unconscious so you can stab a helpless opponent, because that's about all you're good for. and you will then become the next Taggerung. And they're all like, yeah. And then Gersul like mutters to Ifera, one of Sani's most trusted killers, and going like, look, if this schmuck turns out to be a total schmuck, like we know he is, accidents happen.
Yep. Involving
It-
an axe sometimes.
Yep.
I made a pun.
Accidentally.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Grooven heads out with Valug, Bowbeast, Ifera, and a bunch of other people, a bunch of other schmucks that I'm totally sure are not going to die in horrible ways.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
of
gonna
course
say,
not.
don't worry about listing those because something tells me that they will not last long. By which I mean they'll go on vacation, of course.
They're temps.
Yeah.
Yeah, their contract expires, and then, well, they have other opportunities that they want to pursue career-wise.
Yeah. The other one I kind of like is a Milk Eye, where he has like the one eye, like one of his eyes is like all white or something.
Hmm.
Which I wonder if that was just like a mean nickname they came up for him.
Probably.
Yeah.
And he just took it and he's like, well, sure, I'll be Milk Guy. That's fine.
Yep. He's like, as long as it means I don't get stabbed or have one of my paws permanently ruined or drown or some other horrible thing, I'm sure I'm going to live a long and productive life.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, it would be a terrible thing to meet an end within a short time of leaving a camp and being entrusted with such an important mission. That'll never happen.
Yeah.
Never ever.
So meanwhile, Tag is just kind of chilling, wandering around, and runs into two bank voles who at first are kind of jerks, and then decide to befriend him because he's not a bad dude.
Yeah, I kind of like this that they first see him and they think, oh, big scary otter, and then they realize that there's more to appearances.
Yep.
He's a
What?
good lesson to teach kids.
He's
Yes.
more than meets the eye.
What? What? A tribe of wolves that aren't, like, absolutely unrepentant jerks? Is this even possible?
There
Um,
are friendly
well-
wolves. Oh my goodness.
yeah, well, there are pigs flying outside right now, so yeah, anything's possible.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, no, it's just the tree out front. Oh. You lied to me.
I also like the fact that one of the voles is called second in because he's the second in
Yeah.
command.
Yep.
That's cute.
A little on the nose, but yeah, adorable.
Yeah, little on the snout. So, yeah, Grooven is sent out with his clan, and I love the fact that Antigra's like, get up. He's like, no, I want to sleep in. Like, you're the leader of the clan. For the love of God, act like it.
Do I have to? Yes.
I don't want to go to work today. Grooven's the kind of guy that hits the snooze button like 15 times.
That's me sometimes.
I mean, I'll sleep it like 3 times. And then I'll turn it off.
I think once I hit it like 4 times, and then I just rolled over, updated the alarm to go off an hour later, and then went back to sleep. Meanwhile, back at Redwall, life and death struggles going on at Redwall right now, by the way. And they're trying to solve the riddle, and they finally figure out, they're like, what's this ashy sounding tree that we should be looking for? Also, just a random spot in here where I swear Boorab is the Rodney Dangerfield of Redwall. He gets no respect.
I mean, yeah, I don't particularly care for some of his shenanigans, but calling him a flop-eared reprobate after 15 seasons does seem a bit harsh.
Yeah. I get no respect. No respect, I tell you.
Well, maybe you should do something worthy of respect. Yes, I said that.
Yep, I seem to remember him doing something useful in book 3, but I can't remember. I swear he does something nice, but I don't know. He's harmless for the most part. Like, he's certainly not Fleet Scott.
Yeah.
No, I like him.
Yeah.
He takes a bit after Florian in terms of his garrulous, kind of irrepressible, roguish behavior. I wouldn't call it roguish charm, because I don't find it particularly charming, but that's just me.
Yeah. He's definitely more Florian. Like, he doesn't come across as like a warlike hair or a warrior hair like some of the others we've seen.
Yeah.
So they find out, it's like, as I said before, it's rare that we see like the whole Abby help out with riddles. Like, the last time I can really think of the core cast constantly being involved, like more than the core cast, was Matameo when they were all working to find the directions to Loam Hedge.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Pearls of Lutra was primarily our main crew, and then they would have like guest characters here and there throughout the quest. So they find out, okay, it's this super tall ash tree in the middle of the Abbey, and they're like, oh, how are we going to climb up this tree? And Broggle's like, I know this really cool girl. Like, she could totally climb the tree, but she's totally the best, and she can climb anything. She's so awesome.
This is adorable. I love Broggle so much.
Yeah,
yes, it's his crush is just, it's the greatest. I love it.
Yes.
I am not prone to shipping. I ship this.
Yes.
Yeah, I do like this a lot. And so he tells him this squirrel named Fwirl, and they're like,
opened a soda.
Well, I mean, that's so distracting. Please stop.
so distracting. So.
What'd you think of that pun, Drew?
That's what he thought.
Thank you.
Was that a no? Like,
yeah.
Oh wait, that's a yes.
Oh, that was yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He likes my pun. Thank you, Drew. Actually, it was your pun. Never mind.
Well, it was our pun because I played it off of your action. So.
And it was my soda.
It was a team effort.
What were we even talking about? Sorry, I got distracted.
The riddle.
Whirl, who, when they ask her to help, she'll give it a whirl. Atta girl, Whirl. And I like it too, where Broggle's like, they say like, Broggle, should we, help you ask her? He's like, oh no, I'll go ask her myself. Don't worry about it. And Friar Bob is just like, he's so happy. He's like, oh, it's so cute that Broggle has a crush. Like, oh, I'm so glad he's able to go to her and ask her for help. That's adorable.
Yeah, and at this point that Mira kind of, everyone was kind of laughing, not in a mean way, but just kind of laughing at Broggle because he was kind of being ridiculous. And she's like, no, don't make fun of him. It's obvious he cares a lot about this girl, so we should be nice to him and not embarrass him.
Yep. And so
then Broggle comes back. He's like, well, where's Fwirl? Well, where do you think? She's in the tree. That's where you wanted her, right?
Didn't you know she could just leap tall buildings in a single bound?
Super squirrel.
Yeah. And she finds Paragord's monocle in the tree.
Yeah.
Yep. And Craiga, I feel like she gets a little misty-eyed where she's talking about oh, this belonged to Paragord, and he had given it to me, and when Som got older, she didn't want to wear glasses, so I gave her this monocle that she would just randomly pop out, use, and then hide in her habit sleeve.
Indeed. And I just have to point out that Craiga feels her face, and that's creepy. Just again, reiterating, I don't like that. Moving on.
Face feeling fail.
Yes.
This is a point where they mention that dinner is going to consist of cream of mushroom soup, and I love cream of mushroom soup, and I got very hungry.
Yeah, and little oat farls. I love bread so much. Anything carbs, like cookies, scones, bread, muffins, I just love it so much. Cake.
Carbs are the best.
Yep.
They are. Pasta.
Especially if you pair the carbs with cheese of some sort.
Oh, yep.
Mm,
Which is
Cheesy
pizza is one of the
carbs.
best things. Pizza is one of the best things ever.
yes.
How about garlic cheddar biscuits fresh from the oven? Ooh.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Yes, please.
I want all of those things.
Yep.
So
This is what happens on a Redwall podcast. We all
Yep.
get hungry.
I'm not hungry
yep.
Uh-huh.
yet.
Boorab gets a good line here where they're like, by the way, you're still on probation. He's like, who's ever heard of a 15-season probation? I should be on pension, not bally probation.
Boorab, you're ruining the moment. Why don't you make yourself useful and go and find us a strawberry tree?
I do like randomly Craig just picks him up and places him in different places around.
Yes.
So we then find out that the monocle is aiming at Craig's window, and I like the random call. It's kind of like a callback to Martin's sword way back in Redwall, where this is a area only a squirrel could reach.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sam Kim is the one that placed, or no, first it was Roof Brush that put Martin's sword up on the top of the abbey, and then Sam Kim put it back up there, and then Jess Squirrel had to go up there to try to find it, and found a bunch of birds.
Yep.
But we'll spare you the details.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that pun was a real tweet. I had to.
Yeah, well, talking all that food made me a bit peckish, so.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
I mean, I have the book right behind me. I could take a peek at it.
Pete, what do you think about all these puns? Okay, Pete.
I thought so.
Pete, put the rock down.
We don't need more Otter Rock creams, please.
If you want us to stop, that ought to do it, but
Oh boy.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure you've used that one before. Where's my buzzer?
If I did, you ought to know.
Oh, you definitely used that one before.
Oh, well,
Anyway.
about otters. They're the rudder from another mutter.
Oh boy.
So, next chapter. Speaking of otters, you know what? I like the fact that the first creatures that Tag finds are really nice to him, and it also gives him a good the story has a good built-in reason for him to leave too, where it's obvious he does want to stay with him. This is the first friendly group he's really been a part of, but he's also like, look, Sonny's going to be looking for me, and if he doesn't, some other psycho is going to. I don't want to lead them to your peaceful home.
Mm-hmm.
And so he leaves, and the Voles give him this little coracle. It's this little boat to travel in, and they're like, okay, and he even tells them as he's going, thank you, but please, go inside. I need you guys to stay inside. I don't want them finding you.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, one of them does.
Yes. I was also going to say he got a cloak that's also a sail, which I thought was clever.
Yep. I thought that was cute.
I'm looking at pictures of coracles, and they basically look like half of an upside-down walnut shell.
Okay.
So it's just, really super tiny. I was initially imagining something like a thimble shape, but this is more like a walnut shell.
Thank you for that mind picture you just gave me. I was having trouble imagining what that looked like.
No problem.
And we then go to these ferocious trackers led by Reuven.
Yes.
Kind of. It's more like Greuven's kind of following everyone else.
Yes.
Complaining.
Yep.
Shut up, Greuven.
I almost feel sorry for him because he's an incompetent dummy that's been pushed into a position he has no business being in. And now he's being pushed around by tougher vermin who know he's just some schmuck.
I don't feel sorry for him.
Yeah. Well, I said almost.
Oh.
I mean,
almost feel sorry for him.
Greuven's
don't.
trying to assert himself, but he just makes him more of an annoyance. And now I rather hate him rather than being kind of entertained by him. He's a whinging coward. Sneezewort and Lousewort look downright competent next to him.
Vitch was tougher than Greuven.
Yes.
But with Sneezewort and Lousewort, they kind of knew that they were a little dumb, but Greuven thinks he's like the best thing ever, which makes him even more annoying.
This is true. Like, heck, which was it, Sneezewort or Lousewort that got set up as a rap mark?
Lousewort.
Lousewort. And when Lousewort tried, he was like, hey, rap mark buddy, you should make this guy respect me. And so the big dude walks over, punches Sneezewort, and then smacks Lousewort onto the ground, going like, you should respect him. You should make him respect you. And, oh, that'll teach you a lesson.
Yep.
To quote TV tropes, the page they have for characters, if you look under the Greuven, 2 entries of note. For the trope Dirty Coward, spends most of the story bragging about how awesome he is, only to flee at the smallest sign of danger.
Yes.
Exactly.
We definitely get that.
And Smug Snake. He talks big, but ultimately Greuven is one of the most incompetent villains in the entire series. He can't fight, he can't lead, he can't navigate, he's a moron, and completely fails to exact fear and respect from his minions. How is he not the most useless waste of life in the entire series? Queen Sylph, as terrible of a person as she is more interesting than Greuven.
Yeah, at least Queen Sylph is slightly clever, you know.
Queen Sylph was successful.
Yes.
On her own. She didn't have her mommy doing everything for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, shoot, there's a part later on where Greuven, gets the sword knocked out of his, or one of the characters like picks up Greuven's sword. Instead of handing it back to him, they literally just fling it into the bushes and make him go after it. Like,
yes.
Oh boy. Like, I actually feel sorry for some of the other characters. Like, I feel sorry for Milk Eye because he has to take orders from the weenie Greuven.
Yes.
And so they do see one of the Vols, Sekadin, and Valag manages to peg him with an arrow because Valag is actually competent.
He is.
And Greuven's like, hey, Milk Eye, go get me some pears from that pear tree where that Vol went. And Milk Eye's like, I'll get you your pears, I'll pear you. And the other Vol is like, I'm going to show these guys what I do, what we do to people who attack us. And Milk Eye gets bitten by a quote-unquote mosquito.
Guys, I think we should start being more positive about Vols. Maybe tone down some of the stuff we're saying. I wouldn't want to poison our relationship with them by darting into topics we're unfamiliar with. I'd die from embarrassment if I did that.
3 darts is too much. So yeah, Milk Eye gets hit by a poison dart and dies before the end of the chapter.
Yes.
So,
and I kind of felt sorry for him because he's very pitiful. He's like, I just want a drink of water.
Yeah. I do kind of feel sorry for him. And I wrote in my notes that there were 2 dead. So I guess another one of their team died, and I just didn't write it down.
I think Milk Eye is the first.
What was he?
Yeah, and then it was the fish killed one. 2, technically.
Oh, maybe that was it. Let's see. Hang on. I'm confused now. Oh, let's see.
Because it was Milk Eye, and then Brabed, and then Grobate. Why do I know that? I don't know.
Well, Grobate got his butt chewed off by one of the fish, and then died later.
Which, in all seriousness, ow.
Yeah.
Rabad was the unlucky one. He screamed in agony as several of the huge fish attacked him. Turning, he tried to emulate Ribrow by swimming back to the far bank, only to meet the one who had been driven away by Rawback and Dagrab's sticks. Greuven stood horrified as he watched the fox being pulled down by the Burbot's shoal.
I guess we know what the fox
Hashtag
says.
children's book.
What does the fox say? He says,
Yes.
Yep. And then we get, I think Valig is the one that says this, where he kicks Groove into the floor and goes, "Your mama's tougher than you." He's not wrong.
No.
I feel like they kind of respect Antigra to a degree because she was at least persistent, whereas Groovin's just a dork.
Yes.
So
and Valig makes a joke out of the fact that Grobait got his posterior chomped. It's like, looks like he was bait. Grobait, bait, and then he laughs uproariously. All I can think to myself is, at least our puns are better, worse than that. Depending on your
good-natured.
Yeah. That was just a terrible joke.
Our shenanigans are cheeky and fun. His shenanigans are dark and tragic, which doesn't really make them shenanigans at all. Evil shenanigans.
Yes.
Points to whoever gets that Super Troopers reference.
Not gonna be me.
Okay.
We've shenaned once, and we'll shenan again. Thank you, DuckTales 2017.
I haven't seen that. Drew, what do you think of our puns?
He likes them. Hey, Mikey.
I think that was applause.
So, meanwhile, back at Redwall, Alkanet gets locked in a cupboard. Oh well.
Yes, I felt so bad for Kriega here. Like, she's trying to be polite, but like everyone is in her room, and it's just like the introvert in me is going, "Oh, please get the people out of her room. Let her have her space."
Yes. I felt this. It was bad.
Yeah. This is where they're like, "Oh, the monocle is pointing towards Kriega's room. Let's ransack the place."
Yes, and
Good
this is
Lord.
another
And
point.
Craig is sitting there like, "I had everything where I wanted it. Stop. Okay, why is someone trapped in my cupboard now? Darn it."
Yes.
Literally, it said Alkanet got locked in the cupboard.
Yes.
I got a kick out of that.
And this is the point, again, where Mira kind of asserts some brand of authority and is like, "Hey, aren't you listening to your badger mom? Like, respect her feelings and get out of here."
Yep. And they're like, "Yeah, you're right." We then get Forl's horribly sad backstory.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this was so sad.
It's beyond sad. It's tragic.
Yeah. Where
It's like if they ever did a Taggerung movie, the flashback would have to be heavily censored.
Yep.
yeah, Forl was barely older than being a baby, and her dad was murdered. Her mom had like a massive head wound and was barely responsive, and then she was forced to wander off and live by herself.
Yep.
Like, oh my god. And so like immediately Mira and Krega and Broggle are like, "You're totally part of Redwall now. You're not, you're staying. We're your friends. We will never let anyone hurt you ever again."
Yes.
So it goes from the most traumatic moment of the book to the sweetest moment of the book.
Yeah. Like, I feel bad for Burab being on probation and now someone else is being let into Redwall ahead of him, but come on, Forl deserves it.
Well, I think he's
Yeah.
in Redwall. He just doesn't technically have his title that he wants.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. Well, they said he's on probation. Like, Forl, it's immediately you're a member of Redwall. Like, don't worry about it. And in all honesty, if anyone argues this, then they should be thrown out of Redwall.
Yes.
Oh, and meanwhile, Derby the baby mole is cute.
He is cute.
I like him.
He's also a troublemaker.
This is
Well,
true.
yes.
He's not
He-
quite Dwapple 2.0 yet. We'll see later in the book.
He
Yeah.
has a mom, though. He has a mother.
Oh my god, it's a miracle we don't have another orphan. There are so many random parents in this book.
I know.
So I like, and I find it very charming that Philorn is the only one that's like always really nice to Boo Rab and helping him and giving him food and just treating him nicely, and he absolutely loves her for it.
Yeah, I get the impression that he's not a warlike hero, but if anybody ever messed with Falorn, he would take them down.
Oh yeah. Yes, agreed.
Or more specifically, you're getting in the way of me getting the food that I absolutely adore. Arguably the best pastry chef in the entire Abbey. You will not harm my source of delicious food.
Yep. Yeah, he even composed a poem about her, and that's adorable.
Yes, and then he tripped and fell, and she's like, "Oh, I'll give you like 3 helpings of the pudding, and that'll make you feel better."
Yep. So, meanwhile, I forgot, at the end of the other, during the other chapter, Tag was dreaming, and then as he started to wake up, somebody smacked him in the head and knocked him unconscious.
Yes, and this is, well, we don't quite find out who this person is yet, but this is one of the only that I can think of unresolved stories in Redwall. Like, we find out more about this character, and it kind of matches up with Furl's story, but we never hear anything about it again after that.
Yeah. So we found out that he's been tied up and captured by someone who's rambling insanely, and finally he wrestles with them and finds that it's this kind of crazy older like female squirrel who's wearing the pelts and skins of her victims, and
Yes.
I'm just wondering if she wanted to throw Tag in a pit and tell him to put the lotion on its skin again. And we huh?
All I could think of was, by the pricking of my thumbs, something 90s this way comes.
So, to help Tag out, Bird shows up. I forgot what type of bird it is.
A bittern, I want to say, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yep. And so she apparently he calls her Mad, MADD, because he says like Mad she be, so mad I call her.
Which is the 90s reference I was making.
And so he says like, oh, I found her and she had this horrible head wound and she's hates all vermin and is a little crazy. And I was just like, oh God, this is Forl's mom, and that's really dark.
Yeah. I have not seen it discussed elsewhere on the internet. I didn't look that hard, but there was nothing about it on Mad's page on the Redwall Wiki. And it was like, I would think if it was anywhere, it would be on the Redwall Wiki.
You need to go on there and fix that.
But like that's what it has to be, right? Because he also said vermin murdered her family.
Yeah, like that's it, and like the wound, like the head wound thing, like everything kind of matches up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and like Katie said, they don't resolve this. That's the end of it. I don't think we see Mad for the rest of the book, right?
I don't think so. And like, I mean, it could be. I mean, I don't know if Jake's wanted to get into how tragic it would be if Forl did come meet her mother and her mother didn't recognize her, or I mean, that's kind of dark.
Yeah, that's super dark. And like it kind of makes me think it's like a less it makes me think of Fulgrin, where he at least he had a similar thing where like he went a little off and went on killing sprees with vermin, but at least he got like a happy ending where he found Chugger and like became his best buddy and like became more adjusted by the end.
Mm-hmm.
So,
this is the bad side of like mental illness and addiction. The part that doesn't get resolved, the part that doesn't get a happy ending.
Yeah.
And I think because Redwall pretty much runs on resolved stories and or happy endings, or at least conclusions of some sort, Brian couldn't do anything else with it. It's like it was an interesting character, wanted to explore some ideas, but didn't want to deviate too much from what he knew his publishers would be like, yeah, we can greenlight this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there was something in an earlier draft that his editor was like, no, you need to cut this. This will never be printed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, whew. Like we've had stuff like this before. Like I said, with Fulgrin was like pretty dark, but they at least gave him a happy ending. And we had kind of like the comedy version of it with poor Clog,
Yes.
who got clocked in the head and then just kind of became the comic, goofy, weird, creepy comic relief for the rest of the book.
Yeah.
Including that like dark black comedy moment at the end where he finds Badrang's corpse and starts chatting with him and telling him how he was an idiot.
Yes. He's not wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that's the end of that horribly sad thing, and all this in the same chapter too.
Well,
Yeah.
there was one really bright moment in the chapter early on that we kind of skipped over, and I just want to go back to just to lighten the mood a little bit.
Please
Sure.
do.
Yeah.
Okay, so Derby the Mole Babe was sitting on Krega's lap, echoing everything she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so when everyone leaves in shame for, basically invading her personal space and making a mess of things, Krega hands Florl and Mira Derby and is like, go take him to his mother.
Yep.
And so Mira sings this great little Dibbin rhyme
Yes.
as
I
going
like
down the
this.
stairs. And it's just the sweetest thing, and I want to read it because it makes me
Okay.
happy.
Go for it.
Where's the naughty Dibbin? Tell me where. Is that him upon the stair? Hear the little paw steps, 1, 2, 3, and the Dibbin shouting, can't catch me. What's for dinner? Dumpling and pie. Nice and hot for you and I. If you don't come down those stairs, guess who'll eat it? 2 fat hares. It's just, that is the most Redwallish poem I can think of. It's perfect.
This is what makes me love the series. Like these little bits of world building that just feel so natural and are just fit in, and you can just see them chanting this to him, and it just fills me with joy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the next chapter, we get Tag continuing his journey, where I think his original thing was like, I'm going to go to that mountain because it's there. That's basically was his reasoning. And he finds a field mouse fighting a, what is he fighting?
Grass snake, wasn't it?
Yeah, grass snake. And he's like, you want some help there? Nah, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna help you. Nah, I can take him. I can't breathe. And so Tag just kind of beats up the snake and throws it away. And he's like, I could have taken him. Let me at him. Oh no, I'm turning him into Scrappy Doo.
Or maybe Henry the Chicken Hawk.
So,
Who's that?
okay, help me puzzle through something in my head. I love Nimbalo. I do not like Gruben. However, both of them are big liars. Both of them are a little bit arrogant, but Nimbalo is just so much more good-natured and noble. So,
Yep.
But
Yeah, I
here's
like Nimbalo.
I've known a person or two like Nimbalo. They try to overcompensate for some kind of perceived shortcoming or insecurity.
mhm.
Sometimes, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to go along with this. And other times, it's just, you kind of look at it and you're on the inside just shaking your head like, this isn't helping. You're not
Mhm.
helping yourself.
And he's a way more complex sidekick character than Jake's usually does. Like, we learn more about him later that's like, oh, that's a little dark.
Mm-hmm.
Try a lot dark. Maybe not mad levels of dark, but
Yeah. So the two, we don't get like a whole lot of progression in the story here, but these two make a charming pair, and it's nice to see them just kind of chat with each other. Like, and it does comment that Nimbalo is embellishing and lying about this stuff, but Tag doesn't tell him the whole truth about where he came from either.
No, and I like it when Tag is like, why do you tell so many lies? And he's like, well, they're not hurting you, are they? He's like, sure, you got a point.
Well, it just makes me think of the line from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where it's Bashir and Garrick, where he's like, "So what's true and what's a lie?" "My dear doctor, it's all true, even the lies, especially the lies."
Yes. Doesn't Embala say something like, "What is truth but a bunch of lies people made up so you'd believe them," or something?
I feel that comment from Bashir and Garrick because, I mean, great show, great character, probably one of the best characters in the whole show. Garrick is complex.
Yep. So the two of them eventually they have to seek shelter because it starts pouring rain, and they find like a neat little alcove where it looks totally safe. And Tag is like, so what should we do now? Don't say anything. Why? They're snakes.
Lots of them.
Bunch of
Snakes.
adders.
Why'd it have to be snakes?
And meanwhile, our vermin buddies are also having a bad time. And I wrote in my notes, I bet Growbait's gonna die next.
And what do you know?
Growbait dies next.
Yep. So the next chapter, Tag shows his quick thinking and quickly deals with the adders and gets the heck out of Dodge.
You know, I'm glad those adders didn't subtract Tag from the story. I mean, I apologize for the pun. I don't want to divide us further.
Don't
by
arithmetic me
multiplying
off.
the bad puns.
Yeah, don't arithmetic us off.
I won't.
Oh boy.
I would hate to fraction our relationship.
Pete, help me out here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Back on track.
So they come across this guy Ruskim, and he's a nice old fellow.
Yep, he took him a while to remember his name though.
Yes, and he keeps getting their names wrong too. And
yes.
I don't know if this was an intentional reference, but at one point he calls Tag Flag, which I'm pretty sure that was the name of an otter from one of the other books, right?
Yes, it was.
Excellent.
Ruscum feels like every old person with bad hearing I've ever known.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he's the one, he has this pot of, I don't know what's in it, just throw stuff in there and it tastes good.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
And it's been boiling
Burgoo.
it's been boiling since he doesn't know when. I'm just like, okay.
All right. Pretty sure
True
this thing...
Burgoo. It does not sound appetizing.
No.
Oh. Literally, it's like, hey, I found this thing on the floor. I'll throw it in there. Oh, look, I found stuff growing underneath the pot. Well, that's going in there too.
Gross.
Here's
Oh,
a mushroom. Is it poisonous? I don't know. Toss it in the pot.
Hey, look, stuff's dripping from the ceiling into the pot. That's seasoning.
I'm not hungry anymore.
Cool. One for me.
Yep. More shrubagoo. I can't speak. Shrubagoo. Shabadoo. I don't know.
Ruby gooby goo.
Oh no.
Soinks gang, we have a weird mystery food. So they start going to sleep, and Tag wakes up, and Nimbalo is having nightmares about his abusive father beating him.
Yep.
All right, that's dark.
That is, I think it's the first abusive Woodlander parent we've come across.
Yeah,
Won't be the last.
this is
No.
true.
Spoilers.
Yeah,
But it's very unexpected.
yeah.
Yes.
It was at this point where I was like, I remember when I first read this book and I got to this part, and I was like, I hope they meet him later and Tag like beats him up, like kicks Nimbalo's dad's butt, you know?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, that's...
You get
There's some dark stuff in this book.
you get a good sense of why Nimbalo is the way he is.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
why he has so much bravado, why he's just like not settled on being in any one place, why he seems to talk so vociferously about not liking families and groups of people being useless. And it's like I can't relate to it, but I appreciate the effort that Brian put into it. And he's showing that being contrary to your problems doesn't make those problems go away. And I think too many people think that just by stating that they are a certain way will make them that way. And no, that doesn't work that way. Self-deception is not a drug anybody should take. And Nimbalo has a drug problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a very surprising and very refreshing bit of complexity here.
Mm-hmm. I also like to point out, I think this is the first instance where this cat, like Nimbalo's dad, sounds worse than Sonny Wrath. Sonny never abused Tag.
Mm-mm.
Sonny was a better father than Nimbalo's dad.
Yep.
How pathetic is that? The like heartless murderer. Well, granted, I guess he did go after her to try to kill him after Tag left, but you know.
Yes. Well.
Part of that I think was also him saving face in front of his crew. So.
Angry Roosevelt was a better dad than Nimbalo's dad.
Agreed. Yeah. I wish Roosevelt would have lived to meet Nimbalo's dad and be like, "Oh, give me 2 minutes alone."
Yes.
Yeah, and Roosevelt, you know, understood, like, regretted what he did and had people around him also that helped him. And we could tell that Roosevelt just was kind of at his wit's end and stressed, and a genuinely nice person. Like later on, he meets up, like he's talking to two of the Divins and is super kind and nice to them. And as soon as Dan shows up at the end of Marl Fox, the first thing Roosevelt does is apologize and hug him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, Roosevelt was a good guy.
I mean, he was verbally abusive. I don't want to excuse that because what he did was terrible. However, Nimbalo's dad sounds like both verbally and physically abusive.
Yep.
And doesn't seem to feel sorry about it. So yeah.
Yeah, Dan wasn't driven to run away from Roosevelt because he was a horrible father. He ran off to prove himself to his dad and be like, no, I'm going to make sure my dad respects me. All right, so back to serious stuff, or less serious stuff. The constant like goof ups with Nimbalo and Tag's names. I think my favorite was when Ruscum calls him Frog and Numble.
Yes.
You could tell Jake's had some fun with these.
Oh yeah.
And so they head off, and the chapter ends with Grobate's bloated carcass floating down the river.
Yep.
Lovely.
Yep.
Oh, and there's a part in here that I just kind of wanted to talk about briefly, but Tag was first Ruscum said, "Oh, you can be a part of my family now because he drew pictures of them." And Nimbalo's like, "I don't want to be part of a family." And Tag, takes him out and is like, "Hey, don't be rude to him. That's not hospitable." I'm like, where did Tag learn hospitality? Like, was the code of conduct so strong in the Vermin Gang that they had hospitality?
Maybe he learned like, okay, whatever they do, I should do the opposite.
Sure, no worries.
That is a good point, though.
I'm sure they at least had meetings with other Juska tribes, so there was probably some form of Juska hospitality that's probably not analogous to anything that we've seen so far, but, more in line with Vermin's sensibilities, but a form of hospitality to try to keep tense relationships at least civil.
That makes sense. Yeah, I was just like,
And I do like that Ruscum, did some etchings of Tag and Nimbalo's likenesses, and it's like, you can be a part of my family now. And that's a good reminder that old people do get lonely.
Yeah.
Take good care of your old people in your life, because they're not going to
Indeed.
be around forever.
Yep. Yep. So, is this point when we jump back to Redwall? I just had some random thoughts about the book so far, and I kind of mentioned this before. And we talked about this before, that the structure of this book is very different from the others. It doesn't feel like they're building to some final conflict or focusing on a main hero and his evil counterpart. Tag is certainly a protagonist and obviously the titular character, but he's just kind of off on an adventure. He's not like, we're not having like a direct like Martin Badrang thing where Martin is on this ongoing quest so he can stand up and face the big bad, or Matthias searching for Martin's sword so he can face the big bad or bring peace back to Redwall, or even like multiple protagonists against a big bad like Song, Dan, and Dippler against Mokan. And it's definitely a change of pace. Like, we don't see stuff like this in the other books. And I haven't read all the ones after this, but I don't remember this really happening again. But it also, for me right now, just doesn't feel like the story is really heading in a specific direction. We said before, like, it's kind of like a slice of life of Abbey life. And yeah, we are getting that. It is nice to see what the Abbey life is like when they're not under attack by horrible monsters. And ignoring the fact that obviously I remember how this book ends mostly. Yeah, I don't, there's some things about near the end of the book that I don't remember completely clearly because it's been a little bit. But even the mystery doesn't feel like it's really building to anything. It just kind of feels like, here's a scavenger hunt to keep them busy.
Yeah, it does seem very different. I kind of like, though, that it's sort of Mira's journey of, I don't know, self-discovery, like kind of discovering this leadership quality within her and just kind of fostering it as she tries to figure out this puzzle.
I think something I would have liked a little more is if, like, book 2, like, actually we could have had that dynamic, the parallel paths of Mira and Tag. But I think book 2 focusing on Tag growing up with the Juska, maybe taking part in raids or things like that, would have been better for him, just to see like how he got to this point where he wanted to leave, and instead of just being this quick big moment, kind of like with Vale, that we only got to see him, near the end of his tenure at the Abbey. I would have liked to see a little bit more of him growing up with them, because I think there's a lot of good story potential of this otter being raised by this vermin clan.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too, that Jakes really doesn't like to get into the details, either in Outcast or in Taggerung, of like the growing up of the character.
Agreed. Actually, because book 1 was so short, only 6 chapters, you probably could have put in an additional 4 chapters, 2 for Juska life and then 2 for Abbey life, before transitioning to the 15 season mark. So it's a 6 seasons on and then a further 9 seasons on, something like that.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to see also with Mira, of her growing up and like how she, like, more of her becoming better, really good friends with Craiga, where we saw like the start of that in book 1, where the two of them started to chat a little bit, but it would have been nice to see like how their friendship grew.
Yeah, we saw the beginning and we saw the end. It's the 2 heels of a loaf of bread. It's like, give me the good bread in the middle. I mean, it's not like I'm one of those people that's like, ew, crust, but it's like, there's no substance to it. It's just crust. Give me the good stuff.
I want to be able to decide which side of the bread I want to put my peanut butter on. I don't want the bread to decide for me.
Exactly.
I will be right back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Meanwhile, newsflash, Broggle really likes Fwirl.
I never would have guessed. Thank you for telling me.
Like, literally, I just wrote here, okay, Broggle, we get it. You're infatuated with Fwirl. Tone it down, boy. We also get more of Bureb and his best buddy Falorn, who is like, Bureb's like, I'll totally help you with food. And she's like, oh, why is that? He's like, no reason. Maybe I might want a little snack. I know you do. Come on, let's chill.
I just wrote in my notes, Forlorn, please stop catering to the gluttonous hare.
I don't know. You know what? I feel like Floren's like, I can't spoil my own kid anymore. I kind of like Burab. He's the son
great.
that she lost.
Oh, so she's replaced her son, who's fighting tooth and nail to get back to mommy, and she's replaced him with a hare.
Yeah.
A gluttonous hare.
Well, she thinks her son is dead. I mean,
I'm not expecting Bella of Brock Hall here. I'm not expecting her to be like, oh yes, I know my son, Sunflash the Mace, is coming to visit me soon, because my dreams have told me. I get that. But at the same time, he's a hare! He's more than self-sufficient. At least he should be. Maybe a few less trifles and a few more, I don't know, walks around the Abbey wall top would do him some good.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. I think it's charming that she's the only one really being nice to him. Like, I kind of feel bad for him at times.
I do too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it doesn't excuse his more negative behavioral moments.
This is true. I mean, like, Klecky was, like, stole food from the kitchen and stuff, but at least he made up for it by, like, just kicking the crud out of so many villains in that book.
Absolutely. What do we have here? We have a hare who's basically a cross between Klecky and Florian, getting all of their worst traits.
No. Hey, you know what? He did help Broggle with his speech problem. So he did, granted, one good thing in 15 seasons.
That was the very beginning. He hasn't done anything useful in 15 seasons.
That's why he's still on probation. He started off too strong.
Okay. All makes sense. He set the bar so high that he was never be able to jump over it.
Exactly. So they they find another what's it called? A
carved rubbing image.
Yeah.
On the side.
So they figure out, like, oh, wait a minute, the ash tree was once much shorter. Maybe it's pointing to something on the wall. Sorry, Krager, for completely trashing your room.
It does say that Mira helped tidy it up afterwards, but
yeah. So Forl climbs down and finds the stuff on the wall, and they do a rubbing, which is cool because that's something that's been in there before.
And I like that she realistically can't read or write because she hasn't been to Abbey school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And so, she does the rubbing, and they read the new poem, which this one is cool too, because not only does, the readers can figure out what it's talking about, but it does, like, good callbacks to previous books with the, 'twas I slew the scourge in days of old. Then I was one, but now we are two. We who are dumb yet sound so bold, day and night to order you. We are those who announce a feast, or victories of the brave-hearted. We are those whose solemn farewell mark sadly a loved one departed. On our oak see knowledge unfold. We never speak till we're told. We never speak till we're told.
Yep.
The one who slew Clooney the Scourge. Nope, not ringing any bells.
Oh, really, Matthias?
Yep. So again, we also have a natural moment. Forl is the only one that doesn't understand what the answer could be, but everyone else does because they've grown up at the Abbey, and a lot of them laugh like jerks. And Mira's like, "She didn't grow up here. Shut up."
Yeah.
Yeah, and Broggle was, like, pissed at them for that. And then they explain it to her like, oh, it's first we had one bell, the Joseph bell, which they mentioned Joseph, which cool. We have not heard his name in forever.
We got lots of callbacks in this one.
Yep. And they say that Matthias cut the rope that hung the bell to slay Clooney the Scourge, and that they then reforged the bell as two bells, as the Matthias and Methuselah bells. And I like the fact that the character that reads this off, Flobert, the Hogmaid, it said that she learned it in Abbey School.
Mm-hmm.
So they do teach history, apparently, at Redwall Abbey.
It's just not everybody pays attention.
Yep. Yep.
They're too busy, drawing googly eyes at each other, on their slates or whatever.
Throwing parchment airplanes at each other.
Oh,
Yep.
Such a waste of parchment, too.
So, at first, the entire Abbey wants to, charge into the bell tower, but then Forlorn and Mira are like, oh, no, you guys can't do that, because we're totally going to have this cool entertainment challenge, and this is totally not a way to get you all the heck out of here and out of our business. And I love...
Entertainment contest? What entertainment contest? Oh, didn't we tell you? One of my mom's trifles is the prize. Would you like that trifle? I'm in.
Yep.
Yeah. I love how her mom's just totally willing to help her out with it. She's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yep. I love Craiga here, where she's like, maybe I'll take part in that. I was very entertaining in my youth. And I was like, Craiga, the only entertaining you did in your younger seasons was probably entertaining your troops by throwing vermin for distance.
We never got to see her in her super young seasons, though. Maybe she was a comedian.
Before the Blood Wrath.
Yeah.
When she was Craiga, not Craiga Rose Eyes.
Before the terrible gamma ray accident that transformed her into the incredible Craiga.
Oh, I was thinking more Cyclops.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Before she found the powerful ruby that transformed her into the unstoppable Jugger Craiga.
Or maybe got a red power ring and became Red Lantern Craiga.
Oh, dear.
I mean, how many comic book references can we make before we run out?
Well, earlier in my notes, I actually made another one for Tag. I said he was less Batman and more like Damian Wayne Robin.
Oh, no.
There's a deep cut. Oh, God.
Well, actually, no, that doesn't work because he doesn't have a father anymore.
This is true, and also Damien actually did kill people, so...
Yeah.
So they go up to the bell tower and find a cloth.
Oh, before they get up to the bell tower, it's like, oh, we're going to have to climb up these stairs, and Craiga sits on the bottom stair to catch her breath. Insolent wretches, I'll have you know I was very skilled at entertaining in my young seasons. Maybe I'll perform a quick acrobatic dance. That should do the trick.
And everyone's like, oh, God.
Yeah. Sassy Craiga is my favorite Craiga. Just saying.
Craiga is very fun in this book.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think she's more fun than in the previous two books. Combined.
Well, I feel like... So we had Long Patrol Craiga, which was kill, 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 kill.
Yes.
Why am I not killing anything yet? And then Marl Fox Craiga, which was kind of like a mixture between this one and Long Patrol Craiga, where she had, she had calmed down, but she also had her moments where it's like, don't poke the bear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Or you threaten children around her. You're not going to live anymore.
Yes.
I mean, we literally had a moment in Marl Fox where it was, she grabbed someone and that was the last time we heard from them ever. So, yeah, I do like more goofy, sassy Craiga in her later years, but I think Marl Fox Craiga might be my favorite.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because then she also still had the ability to, strike fear into her enemies. Where it was
she can still strike fear into her enemies now.
I was gonna say I just like Krega in general. Like whatever book she's in, it's like yay, Krega.
She has a good character arc. So yeah, they go up and they find a piece of cloth that smells like lilacs, and so apparently Song liked lilac perfume. Yeah, that's interesting to know.
I like lilacs.
And they find letters on it that just say Hitagal.
Hitagal? I would never do that.
They might hit you back.
So then they decide to head down to the entertainment contest where Burab has my favorite pun of the book, where he goes, "I would never trifle with your trifle."
I do this for no trifling reward.
Yes. I like that. And yeah, all the characters are completely stumped of what does this mean?
Yep.
So, and it's not just Hitagal. It's so because we're an audio podcast, and we should probably say what this actually looks like. It's in all caps, Hittagall.
Is it like vertically down the cloth?
I think that was it too. Yeah.
Oh, that looks like steno notes. Sorry, the court reporter in me was like, interesting.
That was Song's second job.
Okay. I like her even more now.
Yep. Meanwhile, back with the villain brigade.
One more thing.
Mhm.
Krega awards all of the Dibbins for their contributions the trifle, which they gleefully drag into the gatehouse and shut and lock the door, leaving Boo-Rab kind of pounding on the door. It's like, no trifle for Boo-Rab. Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, I think
Go butter up Forlorn to make you one yourself, you gluttonous glutton.
Well, he even had like the moment where he's like, it's fine. I don't need to win. They're like, well, you won, but since you don't want it, we're giving it to the kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, he made that glorious pun, and then it came back to bite him, because Craig is like, you all heard him say he didn't want a trifling reward.
Oh, I feel sorry for him again.
I don't.
That's what happens when you make bad puns. They come back and bite you.
He got punished.
Yes.
You have used that one before.
That's I was going to, and then I decided not to, because it's like, wait, we've made this one before.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's an oldie but a goodie.
Nope.
It's an antique pun.
Okay.
So, meanwhile, with Valug and Ifara are like, look, we're the two most competent guys here. Everyone else is a moron, and Grooven is the king of morons. And we're freezing here. We're not accomplishing anything. If we die, nobody's going to remember us. How about we just get the heck out of here, go back and say, yeah, Grooven died because he sucked.
And no one would be surprised. They'd be like,
Yeah. Grooven tripped over his own tail and impaled himself on his own sword.
And Gristle's just like, yep.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Gristle is like, I saw it happen. And I like the little bit of the two of them like, yeah, we're partners. Here, well, you go first. No. You go first. And they just kind of look at each other, laugh, and they're thinking, this guy's totally going to stab me in the back the first chance he gets.
Yep.
Valak might be a bit too clever for his own good. He's like, well, we got that otter from the Abbey, so maybe he's going back to the Abbey. And it's like, yeah, Tag will end up at Redwall as the plot demands. There's not even going to be a spoiler for that. He has to. It's the way the story's going to go. But he didn't set out to go there necessarily.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, maybe Valig secretly has a copy of the story in his back pocket.
He's genre savvy.
Yeah, he was looking at the script and says, okay, here we are. I found the page we're at. This is the part where I have to speculate that the otter really went to Redwall. Let's go.
Yeah. So Tag and Nimbalo then try going to sleep again and learn that anytime they try going to sleep anywhere, horrible things happen.
Yes.
So they all of a sudden, pygmy shrews. We haven't seen them since Martin the Warrior.
Yes, and they're a little bit friendlier in this iteration.
Little. My exact notes were, oh wow, pygmy shrews. Haven't seen them since Martin the Warrior. I bet they're annoying.
Yeah, well.
For my notes, I have Gulliver's Travels, Redwall Edition. Or Pygmy Shrew 2, Electric Shrew Burgoo.
No.
That's for you, Jeremy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we have wacky pygmy shrew antics where they attack a bunch of little, I guess they're little mini eels or something, or snaky fish is what they call them. Or
Fishes.
snaky fishes. We make snaky fish pie. It sounds horrible.
Yes, I remember all the way back in Mossflower when they had snake fish. Snaky fish was all I could think about because I was thinking about these guys.
That's the guy though who is like, don't call me snaky.
Yeah.
That in Mossflower, snakefish eat you.
Don't
Yes.
call me Snaky, or it will be your last mistakey.
Okay, that was a good one.
That was good. Oh god. So wacky pygmy shrew antics, and then we have jerk pygmy shrew chief who smacks his son, and that Nimbalo doesn't take kindly to that.
Yeah, trigger warning here for Nimbalo.
Yeah, but Tag is tactful, and he's like, look, I don't like it either, but we also don't want this entire mob killing us, so let's try and play along for right now.
And Nimbalo's just like, we could have fought them all off. He's like, yeah.
Well, when we say we, I really mean you, because as much as I like to think I'm great, that is really just another dishonest lie I'm telling myself to make myself feel more powerful.
Yep.
Sorry, Dad.
So then they all eat, and they're like, oh, we have this ceremony we need to go through, and I was just like, I don't like where this is going. And
Yep.
this is like, I was like, we're heading into a lottery situation, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Th-
Oh, that book
this-
is terrible.
Yep.
That story, the lottery. Ugh. Anyway.
This ritual or ceremony or whatever you want to call it reminds me of the sort of thing you'd find in one of those 1940s documentaries that spends more time exploiting the native populations than actually doing anything educational. And it
Yes.
treats superstition very callously. It's uncomfortable. It's like, true, Tag handles their problem, but it seems like the message is, let modern people fix the savages' problems, which is not cool in the slightest.
Yeah.
True, but they also were sacrificing an innocent shrew girl to death for no real good reason.
I mean,
Granted.
to them though, it was a good reason because they thought, like, in their superstition that the snake fishes wouldn't come back if they
Sure.
didn't.
True.
So it is a little complicated.
Yeah, if their solution, if their ritual didn't involve the death of a kid, I think I'd be a little bit more lenient on it and be like, yeah, let's not disrupt. If they believe it, that's fine, but this is, they believe it, and so that means innocent people have to die.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
I'm not going to deny that. That makes absolutely perfect sense, and I agree with it. I'm saying from the perspective of, yeah, this sounds like something that Brian saw from one of those really early documentaries, and it just kind of stuck with him. And
Yeah.
I'm not cool with that.
Okay.
White saviory sort of thing.
Yeah.
Otter saver.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they find out that this little droplet from the ceiling, whatever shrew it lands on, they sacrifice them to the water demon, which is basically a giant pike or eel or something.
I think it's a large snaky fish.
It's not a pike. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Katie. Are you bitter right now?
So they sacrifice it to Grimjaw.
That's not a pike either. That's a grayling.
Trigger warning! Trigger warning!
Oh man.
Oh god. So Taggerung's smashed now. And
Yes.
so Tag dives and saves the shrew, which is one of the daughters of the chieftain. And he starts getting into trouble and eventually just goes and just beats this thing, gets dragged out of the water, grabs his dagger and stabs it in the neck and kills it, and leaves it on the ground. And the chieftain is like, at first all the shrews are like, we should eat it, and the chieftain's like, no, that thing tried to eat my daughter. Let's push it off and never look at that thing ever again.
Actually, I think it was the wife that did that. Like,
oh no, yeah, it was the wife.
The
Yeah,
chief
the
was like,
husband
let's
was
cook
like,
it.
we can make this into 100, maybe 200 snaky fish pies.
Yeah. And they're like, no, let's not do that.
I'm not going to make pie out of the thing that almost killed my daughter.
Yeah.
What are you, nuts?
Maybe a little
Although, granted, the snaky fish the tribe had been eating were probably the big snaky fish, Yokar's children. So
Yes.
insert the circle of life from the Lion King here.
Yep. And then Tag also is like, when the son like calls the dad by his name and the dad's about to hit him, Tag grabs him. He's like, don't do that either. And he's like, okay. And he tells him, like, don't punch him, don't call him names. And he's about to kick him. And he's like, no kicking either. Jesus, why do I have to be specific?
Yeah, this dad is a little bit sexist in an unexpected way because he lets his daughters call him daddy, but not his son.
Well, I think like the son is. I think he said like the son's supposed to be his successor or something. So like the son is supposed to be next in line. So he wants him to act like an adult.
So the son can call him daddy if he wants to.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, but at the same time, it's like having a prince call the king daddy. It's like, no, you want the prince after a certain age to call dad your majesty.
Yeah. So it's like, I kind of get that idea. It's like, I don't agree with his method of enforcing it at all, but no. So meanwhile, back at the Idiot Brigade, Groovin and the Bumblers, now performing Saturdays, are like, hey, where'd Valig and Aoife go? And Groovin's like, who cares about them? And the others are like, we do, because they were tough and you're not. And Groovin is like, no, it's fine. We're gonna go and we'll find them ourselves and we'll totally kill the Taggerung. And the others are like, oh, this is a great idea.
He's just like, I'm the leader now.
Yeah. Now that the tough guys are gone, I'm the leader.
Yeah.
Do what I say, because you have to listen to me, and the people that would probably kill me aren't here now.
So they then they stumble across the Pygmy Shrew farms and are like, let's roll stones and murder them and take their food.
Yeah.
And
And this is why Groovin is the worst. I mean, and it's not even like he's attacking Log from the Long Patrol, where it's like, oh yeah, I see him, I'm ready. Here, let me carve you a new one because, I'm capable. No, this is basically a bunch of adults attacking toddlers. And that's terrible.
Yep.
Yeah, and like, I lose all sympathy for all of these vermin here because they're just like making fun of these shrews as they're like tripping and falling and disappearing under rubble. It's like, no, you guys are all terrible.
Yeah, they have a part where they're like stealing the food and there's like a Pygmy Shrew that's like half dead, half crushed by a rock, groaning in pain, and they're making fun of him.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, you guys deserve everything that's about to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so Taggerung is told, like, hey, there's an attack going on. And he's like, I know who that is. Wait right here. I'm going to go hurt things.
Yep.
And yeah, they capture one of them, and Groovin is such a weenie. So he sees Tag coming, does not warn the others, and just hightails it the heck out of there. And the others are like, what happened? Like, where'd they, what happened? Where'd he go? Oh God, there's the Taggerung and he's pissed.
Yep. Run as fast as you can. You can't escape him. He's the Taggerung, man.
Here, literally, he is vengeance. So Tag captures one of them.
Ribro, I believe.
Yep. and Dagrab and Rawback are the other two, and they get the heck out of Dodge. And then Grooven is such a total weenie. He hears footsteps behind him, doesn't think to look to see that it's his terrified underlings. He thinks that's actually Taggerung chasing him.
Yes.
So he trips, falls into a puddle, and it's like, no, please don't hurt me. It was the others. And Dagrab and Rawback walk up and they're like, you are the most pathetic excuse for a boss ever.
Yeah.
Like, they should just kill him. Like, or ditch him. Like, I would not blame them if they're like, look, let's just go off and live our own lives. Forget this guy.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they stick with him. For what reason, I have no idea.
Maybe they're afraid of the omens. Who knows? Like, maybe they're like, well, maybe this guy actually has to be the Taggerung. I don't know why they would think that. They are kind of dumb, so.
Yeah. So, and then they comment about Valug and Ifra, and they're like, oh, let's go after them because they're slightly less terrifying than the Taggerung is.
Mm-hmm.
And they start like taking bets of like who's gonna kill the other. I bet it's gonna be Valug. He's different. Yeah, but Ifra, he's sneakier. I bet he'll do it.
And then Grooven's like, it doesn't matter because I'm going to kill them both. And they're like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in your
right.
dreams. Literally in your dreams. And probably even then he can't do it.
Yes.
So, back at Redwall.
It's adorable. Whirl is really settling into Abby life, and it's the cutest, sweetest thing ever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, they decide to have a hullabaloo, which I'm assuming is just Redwall Lollapalooza. And there's a massive tongue twister on page, or at least on the paperback version I have, that's between page 210 and 211. And I would like to attempt this.
All right.
If you can't, I will follow up.
Okay. All right, so this is Burab's tongue twister. Hang on, let me just take a quick sip of water here.
Fortifying sip of water.
Okay.
Mouth noises. Hooray!
We are now an ASMR podcast.
Welcome to Recorder on the Wall. This is your ASMR reading of the Taggerung. So, Burab goes, ahem. I could simply scoff 66 sticks of celery separately, swallow 17 swigs of sweet cider, and sensationally scrunch a selection of salad while simpering, smiling, and singing soulfully to serenade Sister Alkanet's stern stares.
You did it!
Yay.
I am all that is man. So, yep. And he then says, so sorry your name didn't begin with an S, Marm. Yeah. Whew, cool. Yay! So, Craig then, like, Alkanet stomps off, and Craig is like, Burab, you should apologize to her. And he's like, fine. He then comes back and saying that he went to apologize to her and kiss her paw, and she punched him in the mouth. Like, I feel bad for Burab. And then Craig is like, no, you deserved that. Like, no, he didn't.
Well, okay.
I think he
actually
did.
Punch him in the mouth.
Yeah.
She smacked him with a pudding spoon.
Oh, that was it.
Yes.
That's still, I don't know, that's kind of mean.
Well, Craig initially was like, was it Craig?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Craig and Mira were together. Mira's rather dour, and Burab's like, hey, you should try to cheer up and smile more, because she's frustrated over not being able to solve the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes off, attempts to apologize, gets smacked with a pudding spoon, comes back, tells Craig what happened, and Craig allowed him to take Mira's plate of food because she didn't seem really interested in it. It's like, well, there you are, Burab, but don't forget to smile or you'll stick like that, remember? It's like,
Yes.
touche, Craig, touche.
Yeah. Mira then is told, like, hey, why don't you go... She's like, I'm just going to go upstairs. And Craig is like, why don't you go to the infirmary? Why should I go there? You should totally just go to the infirmary. No reason. That's not suspicious at all.
Eva's song really liked going up there because it was clean and quiet. You'll like it that it's clean and quiet.
Yeah.
I might like that it's clean and quiet. Okay, I will go up to the infirmary. Yes!
These are not the droids you are looking for.
These are not the iticles I am looking for.
Yep. So then Mira then has like a really sad dream about Dana, like that she lost her brother and her dad, and thankfully we know he's alive, so like there's potential for happy ending.
Yes.
She then wakes up and finds Pitagal.
Pitagal? I didn't know seagulls had tits. You learn something new every day.
But it's like sewn into the blanket, isn't it?
Yep. And so they cut the piece out that has it, and Mira and Forel like try to re-sew it, and Mira's like, I suck at this, and Forel's like, I've never done this before, and Brogal's like, let me show you. I'm awesome. Check it out, Forel. I'm so cool. Look, I can sew this up. I'll totally teach you how to sew. It's adorable.
I really like that though. I like that the dude is sewing. It's refreshing.
And Mira, totally not interested in the sewing part, looks outside and sees Dibbins like playing around the pond. She's like, oh, that's kind of cute. Oh God, one of them's getting into a bucket. Oh no, one of them is going to get hurt. So being like, she calls out to try to help them. But so when that doesn't work, she runs through basically like half the Abbey, bursts outside, dives into the pond to save the Dibbin that falls in, punches headbutts or punches or does like attacks a grayling that is about to try to eat the Dibbin and gets this poor Dibbin to the shore, and everyone's like, oh my God. Go Mira, you're awesome.
So Dibbin's doing what Dibbins do best. Mischief.
Yep. So Tag got to fight a giant eel, and Mira gets to headbutt a grayling. So cool.
Yep. And again, this is her like learning stuff about herself as she's trying to solve this riddle.
Yep. That she's very brave.
Yep.
Also, the quote unquote boat the Dibbins were trying to use was Forlorn's best trifle bowl.
Oh, I love that.
The fact that it was still in the pond when all the Abbey adults were like coming to see what was going on, trying to fix up the situation. Sister Alcanet's like, okay, bath time for all of you and a good round of physics. And it's like, oh.
Yep.
But Forlorn really kind of tries to impress upon the Dibbins why this was a bad idea. Well, where's my best trifle bowl? I think the Greylings are going to be using that to make trifles now. Well, that means I can't make trifles anymore.
Well, they do make the comment that the Greylings can now make trifles, but they won't be as good as Forlorn's.
Yes.
That was cute. And so then Mira's like, hang on. So she dives back in, gets the bowl, and goes, by the way, that Greyling's not looking too hot anymore. Like, I think he'll need a physic.
Yes. I found something interesting, though, when Sister Alcanet was, like, examining the Dibbins. She's like, your mouth is full of pond water. I was like, wait, isn't the pond their water source? Do they have a water purification system? Like, what is going on here? Because she's like, ew, pond water. I'm like, well, yes, but that's where your water comes from.
I don't think that's where their water comes from. I think they... remember back in Natameo when they're trapped in Cavern Hole? Fortmole and the crew dug a series of tunnels and found an aquifer.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So before that, it was the pond, though?
Not sure.
Yeah, maybe they had some sort of process, or they got it from somewhere else. Maybe they had like a water pump somewhere.
Or just a regular old well. We never hear about one, but that doesn't mean they don't have one.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Or,
yeah.
Or it could be that, well, they're animals, not people, so they can drink the water at a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or they cook with it, but they drink, cordials and whatnot.
Yeah.
That works. Yeah,
Yep.
but I just remember in Mosslar, Avis Germain saying, the pond will be the water source or something like that, which is why I always kind of thought that it was the pond.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. But just this is gonna be this is a long episode, by the way.
Oh yeah.
We still have 3 more chapters, and we're at almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say 2.5 hours, right?
All right. So the next chapter, wall race. Will the excitement never end?
Yes.
I liked the wall race.
I know. I said, this is a nice piece of random Abbey life. But again, it just feels like it's like this slice of life that's like we're not heading in a specific direction at this point.
Yeah, it feels out of nowhere and kind of directionless, and it's like, okay.
Yep. But so they decided to have their race, and they have a ground race and a race on top of the walls. And so they have the Dibbins get to, and the moles or anybody who doesn't like heights run around on the bottom, and everyone else run on the wall. And at one point, they're like, oh, look, everyone's doing well. Whirl is the fastest thing alive.
Yes.
Gotta go fast.
I wrote, red streak speeds by. Whirl the squirrel. Too fast for the naked eye. Whirl the squirrel. Whirl, she can really move. Whirl, actually, she doesn't really have an attitude.
No, she doesn't.
Nope. Her mother does, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Sad.
Sorry, I
Thanks,
brought it
Katie.
down. You're welcome. Moving quickly onward.
Yep. So she wins, and who win on the
Gundam.
ground? Yep, Gundle wins, and they're Lord and Lady Strawberry.
So wait, Florl wins the wall top race.
Mm-hmm.
She seems to be like good at everything she's trying for the first time. Are we sure she's not a Mary Sue?
Oh, she's good at all like physical things like this. And it makes sense for someone who grew up in the wild and had no one to protect her, that it would make sense that she learned how to run really fast or climb really well and do things like that. So, no, I think this makes sense for her. There's also, like, they show there's basic things that she doesn't know. Like, she doesn't know how to write. She doesn't know how to read. She doesn't know how to sew.
Yet.
So, like, yet. But actually, they do mention that Alkanet trapped her and Broggle in the infirmary and was like, oh, look, you guys sewed this so well. Here's 1,000 other things.
Yes.
But no, I think this makes sense for someone who lived in the wild for so long that she would be really fast. Like, with all the creatures in the Abbey, they have everything kind of taken care of for them. Like, out of everyone, I'd say that Boo Rab would probably be the fastest since he's the hare. But for Forel, who's lived on her own and has had to stay really fast so she can stay away from predators in the wild, yeah, I'd say her being the fastest makes sense.
Well, let's ask our resident expert on Mary Sue's. Pete, what do you think about all this? Okay, you convinced me.
Drew,
I
do
just remember...
Drew, what do you
sorry.
think? Drew, do you think she's a Mary Sue? Yep, he said no.
Okay.
Sweet. I remember, there's a crack fic that I remember reading where Squirrel is fighting vermin and one of them calls her a Mary Sue, and she like slings pine cones at him while listing off all the reasons that she's not a Mary Sue. And he defeats him. She's like, ha!
That is awesome.
Take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So we then find one of the Divins is crying because 2 of his friends fell off the wall into the forest.
What is it with the Dibbins and the wall tops? There's like some magnetic attraction.
I guess it's like kind of that high up place or like place you're not supposed to go, or it's like, oh, this is really cool. We get to be where the adults are sort of thing.
It's, I'm not allowed to go up there, so obviously I have to go up there.
Obviously, that's the cool place. So it's like when I was a kid at my old house, like there would be times where my dad would go up on the roof to take care of something, and I would want to go up there too because it looked cool.
Yeah. Oh no, I totally get that. There was some playground equipment that was I don't know how high up it was because I was a child, but everyone else was allowed to climb on it, but my teachers wouldn't allow me to until I got a note from my mother. I'm just like, hey, I'm a kid. I want to climb things too, you jerks. I'm still bitter about that.
Yep. So then they organize a search party to go find them. And that's all we see for Redwall for the rest of the book, I think, right? Or the rest of this section of the book.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm sure the babies are totally in danger and totally going to die because that's just Brian Jakes' favorite thing to kill off babies.
Yes.
Dead
Orphan
babies.
death.
Yeah.
Dead Divins everywhere. So meanwhile, back at Pygmy Shrew Central, Tag is feeling depressed because he thinks it's his fault that this happened, but Nimbalo corrects him and says, look, this had nothing to do with you. They didn't even know you were here. They did this because they were jerks.
Yeah.
And it is, though, I will say, it's natural that he'd think of the shadow of the Juska would be following him. And
Yeah.
he was constantly thinking about this. Like, this is why he told the Bulls, like, hey, stay indoors for a little bit. And so Nimbalo's then like, yeah, but we do have this guy that we captured, Ribrow. And Tag's like, you're right. So then we find out Tag doesn't want to kill people. He's totally fine with waterboarding people.
Yes.
Also threatening to unleash a horde of angry pygmy shrews onto our unsuspecting vermin.
I think that's more of just like logical conclusion rather than threat. Like, look, dude, you either got to deal with me or you're going to deal with all of that.
So it looks like Ribrow would rather fight one shrew-sized duck than 100 duck-sized shrews.
Yes.
Yep. And so, and more for the incredible Taggerung, don't make me angry, Ribrow. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Well, that's my secret. I'm always angry.
But I do not feel sorry for this vermin. I just cannot feel sorry for someone who makes fun of people that are dying around him. So,
I agree.
Nope, he can get tortured. That's fine.
Yep. Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying Tag's not justified in waterboarding this guy. I think that's kind of funny that it's like, oh, I won't kill, but I'll torture the heck out of you.
Yep.
I'll make you wish you were dead.
It's like, but you won't kill me. You'd be surprised what you can live through.
Yes.
So we then get a good moment, though, of Tag, questioning him, and he finds out what happened with the Juska clan. And I kind of like the touch of Tag doesn't care that Sonny Wrath is dead. Like, he doesn't feel any sadness or anything. Like, even though Sonny helped raise him, he's like, I just, it doesn't really affect him. And then he gets the idea of like, wait a minute, where did I come from? And Ribrow tells him about the Red Warriors that they had to avoid, which I think we know how Redwall got an even worse reputation among vermin. And he gives Tag the full story of like Vala killed his dad and they captured him and they ran. And he's like, all right, now I know what I need to do. And he and Nimbalo decide to go to sleep. And when they wake up, Ribrow is really dead.
Yes.
And you know what? I don't blame the cave mob one bit for killing this guy.
Nope.
Yep. And it's essentially, we got all the information we needed from him. Now he's dead. Yep. And Tag was at first, like, it shows that he was like a little upset. And then Nimbalo's like, dude, can you blame them? I'm like, no. And Tag, seeing that the shrews do want to go with him, it's essentially, I have to go now. My Redwall needs me.
Yeah.
And they leave their supplies behind, proving that once again, Brian is doing his best to keep Tag and Nimbalo as free of supplies as possible.
Yes. It was like the third time they lost supplies.
Did you even have the coracle for like a whole chapter or?
Yes.
So they then continue traveling and they find a hedgehog covered in mud and help him out. Because they're nice.
Yes. And he talks a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's Robald.
Yes.
My question. Why is it that the beasts with the best manners end up in the worst positions? I
I don't know.
Because it seems like every time we come across a character that is extremely well spoken, they are in a position that nobody else would want to be in.
Like Egbert the Scholar back in Bellmaker.
Yep, or the tiny owl,
Oh, yeah.
Nutwing's mother.
Oh yeah, back in Long Patrol. Yeah, but she was stuck in the tree,
Yep.
and her husband was like the most like polite guy ever.
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, the only polite characters, him, Tonic, I think was his name,
Yep.
Mhm.
and Sir Harry the Muse. All
Yep.
the other like well-spoken random side characters all end up in like terrible situations.
Actually, you know what? Buldred in Martin the Warrior was in a pretty decent position. She was very kind, and her husband was very like soft-spoken, and like the only thing she had to deal with was the frat house next door.
Yeah.
Which,
Turn it down. No. Turn it
I'll
down or
call
I'll
the
make
warden.
Yep.
I'll call the cops.
well, technically
Fine.
she is the cops.
Yeah. It's like, I'll call the warden. I am the law. So the next one where I love the fact they talk to Robald and he tells them that it was Grooven, Dagrab, and Rawback were the ones. And he's like, where do they get these odd names?
Yes. It's so funny. The voice actor for this character has a really high pitched voice, and he's just like he's having such a good time. He's like, the rat's name was Dagrab. But where on earth did they get these names?
Is that a self-aware joke? Like,
Maybe.
So you're telling me that Robald made a ribald comment?
he got to the point. All
Oh
right.
boy.
Hedge my bets. All right.
Put a
All
pin
right.
in that.
Yeah. Don't hedgehog the jokes.
I'll stick with it though.
So there's mud in your eye and everywhere else.
Are you gonna rope me in with another one?
So I
I'm
love
sorry, Pete. I'm sorry. You don't have to shout at me.
So they follow Robald. He tells them that his auntie, like his aunt that's not his aunt, might be in trouble and that she makes awesome food. And so they're like, oh, okay, let's go help her. And I love when they reach there, this little baby hedgehog runs over and starts like attacking them. And then Tag picks him up and goes, like, tell us what's going on quick before I eat you.
And the baby's just like, okay, put me down.
Yep. And they find that these group called the Dilly Pins are there, and they're essentially like the redneck side of the family.
Yes.
And
Dilly Pins always reminds me of Dilly Bars from Dairy Queen, and I want Dilly Bars. That's just like a sidetrack that my brain goes on to.
and they're like, yeah, we heard there might be danger coming here. And the Dilly Pins are like, oh yeah, that was fun.
The willy-nilly dilly pins.
Like sent Grooven and his buddies running so willy-nilly. So Tag then inadvertently challenges the leader of the pack here, Jerkin. And so the two of them have a wrestling match. Huh?
He's a real jerkin.
Yeah.
At first. Then he becomes nicer.
Yep. Then he's nice kin. So Tag decides to wrestle with him, and afterwards, and so he wins. And I love the moment, like he throws Jerkin to the ground like 18 times, and then it's like, and Jerkin's like, "All right, I give up." And he's like, "Well, that's a good thing. You might have beat me the next one." Jerkin's like, "All right, you're cool. This is my buddy."
Bro.
So then they head off with the Dilly Pins to get where they're going, and Tag falls asleep. And I gotta say, Martin could be a little bit more direct with Tag, because this whole time Tag keeps thinking that Martin is Dana, And
Yes.
he could just have one moment, like, you could be cryptic, just point to yourself, be like, me, Martin, you, Dana.
I think he does. Well, he does at least say Martin one
Mm-hmm.
time when Tag is calling after him Dana. But yeah, this is what makes me think that Martin is sort of hemmed in by rules made by somebody of what he can and can't say. Otherwise, Martin's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Or it's Gomph again at the wheel, and Gomph is just trolling.
Oh yeah.
We have found the answer. So yeah, Tag wakes up and talks to Jerkin, who's like, "Oh, you're probably talking about Redwall. I don't know any Dana, but yeah, that's Martin the Warrior, and he's super awesome." And Nimbalo is just like, "Why don't you ask him how we get there?"
Yes.
And they're both
I
like,
love it. Like
"Yep."
I love it. Like he's like, so you know where this place is? Uh-huh. And you want to go there? Uh-huh. And then they're like this pause, and then he just screams, so why don't you take him there?
And then Jerkin, to finish the section of the book, goes, "Now if I could remember."
That's like the best cliffless cliffhanger I've ever seen.
It's like a tiny hill hanger.
Yes.
Yes.
So that is the end of this part of the book. Yeah, not like there's not a whole lot of huge events throughout this section of the book. Like obviously most of the big stuff happens early on, and then it just goes into the adventure and the scavenger hunt. Well, granted, though, the Redwall stuff at the end with the missing kids is definitely an important moment.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's an interesting take. Like, this feels different from the other books that we've read so far.
I kind of like how it feels different. I can understand why some people may be frustrated with like the just regular Abby type stuff going on, but I don't know. I like it. It's comforting.
So, man, we have, man, if you guys thought we were able to talk a lot about 50 pages, well, we definitely got to talk a lot about it. What, like 150 pages was this section?
Yes. I don't know.
Almost 200 or something like that. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, 200 pages.
Holy majoli.
We
All
did
right.
it!
Yay! So, next time we will tackle book 3, which is also decent size. Not as long as this, though. But that'll be next time. But until then, you can find us online at recorderonthewall.com. We are on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever the heck it's being called now. I don't know. I'm just going to call it iTunes. Google Play Podcasts, Spotify. We are featured on the official Redwall forums. We are in the Eulalia subreddit. We also have a Twitter account at ROTWpod, which is also our email address if you want to get in touch with us. rotwpod@gmail.com. Feel free to leave us reviews in iTunes, Google, or Spotify. If you leave us a review, we will totally bring it up on the show. Hint, hint, you'll get, it'll be saved forever in recording. And if you want to send, also, like, one day at some point, we're going to do, oh God, I almost knocked over my Wi-Fi router right now.
Oh no.
Don't do
That
that.
would've been bad.
Don't do that.
My foot hit one of the cables, and I saw it like lean backwards for a second. So at some point we'll probably do like another. We'll probably do like an FAQ episode or like more fun stuff. So if you ever have any questions or want to send us ideas for foods that you would want to, Redwall foods you think we should try making, I am totally down to try making different stuff. I still owe everybody a attempt at Skilly and Duff, which I am sure will be better than Captain Slips.
Yes.
Yes.
So until then, Pete, would you like to say goodbye? That was beautiful, man.
That
I'm
was
crying.
that was great. That was moving.
Yep. Drew, how about you say goodbye? Thanks, Drew. How about Drew? Can you give us a round of applause? Awesome. So, till then, I'm Jeremy. Did I just lose everybody?
Nope, we're here.
Okay. Oh, Kate. It said Katie left.
Huh.
Technical difficulties.
I'm Matthias.
Katie went to go search for the Dibbins outside of Redwall.
Oh, there she is.
Katie's
Hi.
back.
I don't know what happened.
I thought I lost connection.
That's what I thought too, and I was like, nope, that was definitely me. I think I pushed a button or something.
All right, so Katie, would you like to say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye.